You guys are with me? You guys are all here? That was the fastest update I've ever seen, and it looks spiffy. What are all these new buttons? And I thought I would have to re-sign in because I didn't force close it. Like, I usually have to Control Alt Delete, fucking get the fuck out of here, OBS, or else I have to re-sign in. But I think we're good. That's the fastest restart. The future, I hope, is looking bright. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? I just want to make sure that the latency actually adjusted properly as well. Yeah, that was fancy, right? Hello, Tinkerbell Hippie. Tinkerbell, you are a good test because your phone likes to mess around all the time. So let me know if it throws you back or anything in the world of today. Let me just check the settings. Come on, show me the settings. Yeah. No, if it worked, it should, in theory, have worked. And it looks like we're more stable already. 10-4? Awesome. Okay, good guys. Good goo. You guys are good. Good guys. All right, let's keep rolling.
The estate planning documents like the will, the trust, the premarital agreement, the buy-sell agreement that Eric Richins and his business partner had for their business. I've reviewed the real estate purchase contracts, the REPCs, for most of the
fucking Catalina wine mixer. How's it going? I probably don't look the best. I'm probably crazy right now.
Most or all of the properties, specifically the 12 or 13 on the big Midway house.
Okay. Did you speak with anybody? Did you speak with anyone as part of your analysis?
I did.
Who did you speak with, or what types of people did you speak with? Okay,
so I interviewed a number of people. Interviewed the CPA who had done tax accounting work for the Richins. I interviewed the realtor, Mike Monrose. I interviewed the insurance companies. I interviewed bank representatives. I interviewed lenders. I interviewed the prior owner of the big Midway house, the current owners of the Midway house.
I'll say this. When OBS is working how it should be, it's great. And when it's not, it can be really bad. It can be like the worst ever. But today, it looks pretty good.
The building department of Wasatch County, that's the permitting entity for...
Well, not the last stream, this stream.
For the big
so
Midway
far.
house.
Did
I feel
you
like I'm missing somebody, but
did you interview any representatives from insurance companies?
Yes, I did.
That's not good, Tim.
Your Honor, can we approach for just a moment?
It might have been my fault though, because I had it at 60 frames per second and then I switched to 30, just randomly. So that was no good. We can transcript this so I don't have to like skip blind. Skip to Malou. Let's see. Still don't have the transcript generator fixed. But what? Oh, here we go. I was like, that is really small for the transcript. Where are we though? 36. Can we approach?
What, ma'am, is your methodology or process for forensically examining someone's finances?
My process usually begins with the bank account statements, because that tells a lot about a business or a person, and helps me understand the landscape of things and helps create a narrative, because those are the things where
I'll have to see an example of this one day.
It tells me the source of funds, how much it is, how often it comes in, how it's used. And you think about someone who has young kids at home, their expenses are going to look very different than people who are later on in their life. And so it describes a lot. And then also what's left over at the end of the month, and what things look like over time. And that helps me understand then. I get to know
I got 21 bullets inside of this gun and I'm ready to bitch.
At JakeJack066 super chatted $2. Is Ashley with us? W-O-O-E-O-O-E-O-O-O.
Ashley is with us. Ashley's with us. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for the 2. No jewels. No jewels because it's a horizontal stream. You know what I found out? You know what I found out yesterday? Because I think it's been 2 days. It's been 48 hours or maybe at least 24 hours since I had the jewels in there. So I can see in the studio like what they're doing. And what they're doing is a little fucking weird. But basically, I'm not getting paid out. It doesn't convert jewels to money. There's an extra step. It converts jewels over to rubies. And then the rubies convert over to money. So, 2 jewels is worth 1 rupee. So there's another split, and then I get that. So, basically, a jewel's worth half a cent instead of 1 cent. I thought it was worth 1 cent, but it's worth half a cent. But that's fine. I just forgot to tell you guys that.
An account specifically, and I get to know what's typical in that account, and then therefore it helps me understand what is atypical, so what's not typical, and it also helps me understand
chat ads. I don't know how to turn chat ads off. I only have the option of like the manual one where it's supposed to only be 1 ad at the beginning and then no ads for the rest of the stream, which is that's what it's set on right now, or it'll just like sprinkle ads in whenever it feels like. And then it tells me all the time, I show you guys it, it's like you could earn 120% more money if you turn those ads on, and I'm like, no, that'd be really annoying. And I want you guys like with me with the live. That's why I'm always like tripping and trying to fucking fiddle with shit. Otherwise, what's the point of being live? We just upload a video. Right? What was I getting on this phone here? I was gonna do something and now I forgot. I went on some kind of rant there.
The different
about
points
ads
along a chronology about what happened when, and
I will get more from that. And then you don't get any ads. You don't get any ads at all. I think premium's worth it. I like it for mobile because then I can listen to music while it's on log, like while the screen's locked.
that is also very informative.
Does that inform the narrative that you referenced?
Yes, it does.
I'll show you guys the rupees.
Let's
Hold
please now step through how you applied your methodology in this case, okay?
Okay.
Did you apply your methodology in this case by first analyzing Kouri Richins' bank accounts?
That was my beginning point, yes.
What bank accounts did she have?
She had her business account for K. Richins Realty, and that's at America First Credit Union. And we refer to the the bank account number by the last 4 digits, just for brevity.
So this is what it looks. These are the rupees. That's what it looks like in the studio. I got 3,200 rupees. Wow, that's fancy just from that one. Oh, and there I did a Pokemon. I did Pokemon. We got 54 cents from Pokemon stream. So that's I don't know why they do that. They do it's 2 jewels worth 1 ruby.
6577.
YouTube gives you free rubies every month, or free jewels every month that you can send to creators. I don't know. There's just something.
Then she had a personal checking account at America
lately.
First Credit Union that's technically a joint checking account. It was opened about the time that Eric and Kouri Richins got married. Over time, I can't see any indication that Eric ever even used that account. So that's what I refer to as Kouri's personal account, 5244. Her Navy Federal Credit Union account, there's just there's a line of credit there and a checking account. The checking account especially is one that becomes important. The family account at America First Credit Union, that's where the household expenses were paid. It's a joint account. 2204 is that one. And then I know you asked me about Kouri's accounts, but I also looked at Eric's business accounts, 7664, and then he also had a personal account.
Let's go back to Kouri Richins' account.
Okay.
You mentioned business accounts. To analyze her business accounts, did you first have to understand her business?
Yes, that's helpful.
Scott?
You have 1,000 jewels? I think it's really weird how many jewels they give people for free. They gave Vegas 100. They gave me 30. I only got 30 jewels. And I gave them to myself. I just wanted to see if it looked like, if it worked. They gave you 1,000 free jewels? Weird.
Scott, can I get 4-4, please? Can you see 4-4? I'm sorry, I'm locked out here.
Yes, I can.
It requires a password, Your Honor.
No problem.
Scott, can you scroll through that, please? Ma'am, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And what is it?
This is the business registration that K. Richins Realty filed with the state of Utah, and this was returned in response to a subpoena that the prosecution sent to the state.
Your Honor, the state moves 4-4 into evidence.
No objection.
States 4-4 is admitted.
Your Honor, can the court publish it, please?
There you go.
Okay, ma'am. What, beginning with the header, does this document tell us?
It tells us the registration number, which is
This is the thing I was looking for. This took me forever to find it. This, okay. One ruby is 1 cent, so 100 rubies is $1, and then 2 jewels is 1 ruby. There we go. That's the breakdown. That's the breakdown. I don't know why they make it so complicated. I think they convolute it so you don't really know what you're spending. And you don't really know, the creator doesn't know what they're making, and then Google just gets the money. So weird place we're living in.
a number the state gives it. The business name is K. Richins Realty LLC. It's a limited liability company.
They gave you
It
20.
was registered.
Oh, you could just send them in vertical streams. This is a horizontal stream, so you can't do them in that. But in vertical streams, there's like a little gift option at the bottom, and then you can press that, and then there's a bunch of different emojis you could basically send. Some of them are pretty cool. And that's that.
Registered April 26th of 2019.
Page 2, Scott.
I wonder what would happen. I should probably look into it. If I put you, because I have like a premium family plan, and I'm the only one on it. I don't have anyone else in this family plan. So technically, Tink, I could put you on my premium family plan. But then I'm worried that like YouTube will think I'm like getting people to watch my videos or something. It's like, I don't know if they'll, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it'll see it as I'm watching my own videos because you're on the family plan. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense or not. But that might be a way for you to just get around the whole ad thing, fucking up your thing. Maybe we can ask Gemini, since that's Google's AI. Gemini should know that, or not, right?
What, ma'am?
Can my family watch my YouTube? Can my family watch my YouTube channel while I get penalized?
Does this
It should be fine.
page tell us?
Well, it repeats the name of the business, K. Richins Realty.
I just want you to have YouTube Premium for free, Tink. Because technically I don't know how many slots it is. 4? I have 4 slots that I could fill. I just wouldn't want it flagging my channel for that.
Article 2 shows that it's in the
Because I wouldn't want... I don't know. I don't know.
business of selling and buying real estate.
Did you investigate kind of what part of the selling and buying of real estate business Kouri Richins was involved in?
Yes.
What part?
Well, she's a licensed realtor, but mostly she's in the business of buying and selling real estate for the purpose of fixing and flipping it. So buying a home, remodeling it, rehabbing it, and selling it.
If you could look down at Article 3, what information does this provide?
This shows who the registered agent is, and that is Kouri Richins and the 282 Willow.
That's the argument I would make. We're sticking to. I was like, we already had this discussion. It's like, I'm paying you money anyways, YouTube. As far as I'm concerned, they've gotten like an extra fucking $15 from me every month for a while without filling those slots. So like, I don't see a problem with it. It's different IP addresses in different fucking countries.
Court in
Ooh, I wonder if that'd be a problem. Probably not. It shouldn't be.
Camas is the family home.
Did you investigate whether K. Richins Realty used any additional business addresses?
Yes.
Did she?
Yes.
Do you know that address?
Yes, it's a P.O. box.
All members must live at the same address. I just asked Gemini on the family plan. Like on the YouTube family plan, all the people have to live at the same address? That's really... I should just cancel it then. I'm the only one who lives at this address. Really? They will have to check every 30 days? How do they check? That's really weird. Okay, maybe this won't work. That seems like overkill. What?
Box in Camas, P.O. Box 759 in Camas.
Page 3, please, Scott.
Kids away at college, yeah.
What does Article 4 tell us?
Article 4 is the section where the members of that company are listed.
The only reason I haven't is because it told me that I would have to cancel this one and then resubscribe. And I don't want anything getting weird in the meantime. It's like, yeah, that's how Netflix is doing it now.
And this lists Eric Richins at the family home.
Can we go back down, Scott?
I mean, there's probably a workaround. I could just make another account. I could just make another person. Probably shouldn't be saying this on stream. And then I could just give Tink access to that account. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's like Tinkerbell using my alter ego's account. Fred. Oh, Ed. Evil Ed. I'll just make Evil Ed account on the same fucking premium plan. You give the account to Tink. Here you go. I don't know. I just put my password out there. I don't know what happened. What are you going to do about it? Google.
Next page, please.
And then when you guys see Evil Ed in chat, you just have to know it's Tinkerbell.
What, ma'am, does this tell us?
So this is, as it states, the summary of the online changes. It's very typical for companies when ownership changes or the address changes that they can go into the portal and change things. So this shows that 4 days later,
No, I would just...
the previous member was changed to be Kouri Richins, removing Eric Richins.
So am I right then that the business was registered on April the 26th and then in Eric Richins' name, and then 4 days later the member was changed to Kouri Richins.
That's right.
That's
Going forward, did the member remain Kouri Richins?
That's correct. I've checked it periodically, and there have been no changes.
Thanks, Scott. Ma'am, what in terms of financing and accounting is an alter ego?
An alter ego is where there are a couple of businesses or a business and a person that are so related that they're indistinguishable. And that can be the commingling of funds, or one relies so heavily on the other for capitalization. There's such a sameness that there's no distinguishing one from the other.
Did you analyze the relationship between Kouri Richins and K. Richins Realty to determine whether there are any indicators that they are alter egos of each other?
I did.
Are there any indicators?
There are many, yes.
And what are they?
The use of funds, the transfer of funds between the business and the person assist each other. There is a sameness, the same addresses are used, the same accounts are used. The business account is primarily for business, but there are many personal expenses that do appear there. And so, and the capitalization for the business squarely comes from the acts of Kouri Richins.
When analyzing Kouri Richins' business and personal accounts, what first struck you?
Well,
Oh, in that yeah, I've seen him in that chat a lot of times.
I usually take a first pass and just to try and absorb things. And when I got to October of 2021, there are many transactions that didn't clear the bank. Either they didn't clear the bank without a fee. Some of them were overdrafted and paid by the bank, and some were just returned non-sufficient funds.
What was she bouncing payments on?
Most of us know that as NSF, and the account was perpetually in the hole. Even though there was money coming in, it was going out at a very exhaustive pace. And then
Let me stop you there. We'll unpack this bit by bit.
Okay.
Scott, can I get 5-106 Delta, please?
I don't know.
Ma'am, do you recognize
I don't know why you would.
this document?
Can't see it. My apologies.
Yes, I do.
Did you prepare this document?
I did.
What material did you use to prepare it?
This is drawn directly from the K. Richins Realty account 6577 at America First Credit Union.
State moves to admit 5-106 Delta.
There's Sam Pepper.
States 5-106 Delta is admitted.
Can the court publish it, please?
Done.
Okay, let's zoom in on this. What generally does this exhibit depict?
So this is just the overdraft and non-sufficient funds transactions for each of these months, just in that one account. And so I started in January of 2021, and this follows through March of 20.
Look at it snowball. It went kind of down there, but it went right back up. Bro, what the fuck?
2022.
June and August. June, August, and April were the only time she didn't go severely into overdraft. I guess like anything under 1,000 isn't severely in overdraft. 2,000 isn't too bad, I guess. That's insane. How do you even get $91,000 in overdraft? What the fuck?
Does this provide us, or does this tell us that for that 15-month period, there were 236 overdraft or non-sufficient fund transactions from that single account?
That's correct. So
And that the amount of transactions that...
I didn't even know this was a thing. I had no idea. I wonder if I can... Oh. That was the live one. They came back for a second. I wonder if I can get overdraft that high. I'm like, I have $500 overdraft protection. What the fuck? 91,000. Oh my god, that's crazy.
tried to pass but didn't was $360,000.
that's right.
And that as a result of that, this account was assessed $5,600 in fees.
That's correct.
Does this exhibit provide you as a forensic accountant any information regarding trends?
Yes. As I
Unless you're a
mentioned
business
before,
entity.
I try
Should I become a business entity?
to understand the chronology of things, and so understand kind of what is typical for an account. So
I'm trying to get out of debt, actually. I'm not trying to get more into debt. I was just like... This makes my little $10,000 credit card look like nothing. Like, what? 91,000 in overdraft.
when things change, I can understand that a little bit more, or at least seek to find an understanding of it. So if you go down the number of transactions column, what I did is just count up the number of transactions in a particular month, and you can see that
There's peanut butter and jelly.
for most of the year 2021, you know, it's minimal, de minimis, not really that big of a deal, relatively speaking. And then in October through the end of March, this is
Even for a business. This business is obviously not working.
a drastic increase in funds that did not clear the bank, or transactions that didn't clear the bank without a fee. And then if you go over to the amount column, that represents the amount. I just added up the transactions, the value of each transaction in each of those months. So like in November and December, those are separate buckets of transactions that she tried to pay without a fee, and that didn't happen. So 91,000 in each of those months.
So let me just pick an example. December. Does this show that in December she had 77 overdraft?
Imagine Caleb Hammer going over her finances. So you went $91,000 into overdraft one month, and then what do you do the next month? You go right back into $91,000 again somehow. How?
For non-sufficient fund transactions totaling $91,000.
That's what that says,
And
yes.
that costs $2,000 in fees.
Yes.
And that upward trend began in October and continued through March.
That is correct.
Did you trace these overdraft and non-sufficient fund transactions?
I did.
What did she use the money for?
A lot of them were debt payments or expenses that she either paid or attempted to pay to rehab vendors, like contractors and subs and
Debt
trades
paying debt.
for her properties.
Did she also try to pay herself?
231500139.
Yes, she did.
Counsel for the state and for defendant are present. Ms. Richins is present. Ms. Lewis, anything before we invite the jury in?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Bloodworth.
No, Your Honor.
There we go.
Ms. Lewis, would you tap that microphone for me?
Sure.
I don't know. I'm sorry. There you go. Great. That should be fine. Brittany will let
You
me
guys
know
ready?
if it's not. We're ready for the jury, Cody.
Is Bart's up? Bart
Kid, is there
Simpson?
a slide deck that we're playing?
Bart Sampson? My name's Sampson. Get away from
I
Sampson.
have a picture of a house at the moment, right? Okay. You'll let me know when you want to publish, Ms. Lewis?
I think Katie just has it ready to go. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Katie just has it ready to
But
go.
it's not up yet. Okay.
Get the fuck up.
Please have a seat as you come in.
Probably shouldn't have more caffeine. Should probably calm down.
All right, please have a seat. Thank you for your patience. We'll continue with closing argument. Ms. Lewis.
In the early, in the early morning hours of March 4th, 2022, the house was quiet. Kouri Richins fell asleep in her young son's room, like many parents do. At some point in the night, she gets up and walks back down the hallway to her bedroom. She slips back into bed beside her husband. She settles in next to him. She reaches over, and he feels cold. Eric Richins, the father of her children, the man that she has built a life with. Something feels wrong. She pulls the blanket up around him, but something still isn't right. He feels heavy. She turns on the light. And when she looks at her husband, really looks at him, she realizes something is terribly wrong. And in that instant, in that bedroom, in the quiet early of the morning, Kouri Richins' world collapsed. Reasonable doubt. It's not just a slogan, it's not just a suggestion, it's a constitutional shield that protects the innocent and prevents the state from punishing without truth. And it is the state that has that high burden, the highest burden under the law, to prove each and every single element of each and every charged offense beyond a reasonable doubt. The state stood up on day one and they told you they were going to prove that Kouri Richins had the means, the motive, and the opportunity to kill Eric Richins.
They did. They showed
And we're going
us.
to talk about each of these, but first, I want to talk a little more about reasonable doubt. I've told juries for a long time that one way to understand reasonable doubt is, are there other reasonable explanations as to what happened? As you look at the evidence, if there are other reasonable explanations, this is reasonable doubt. And you have to find Kouri not guilty. I put to you that every fact that the state has put forth to say that Ms. Richins is guilty has another reasonable explanation.
Well, you haven't shown us.
Let's go back to March 3rd, 2022. From everything we've heard during this trial, Kouri and Eric were happy that night. They were celebrating. Kouri was just about to close on the Midway Mansion. Rightly or wrongly, she believed that this was going to be the deal that put her over the top. The deal that had made everything she'd done with her business, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all worth it. The night of March 3rd, they have a celebratory drink, they go to bed, and then Kouri hears one of her sons cry out. And like parents all over the world do, she goes in to lie down on the floor of her son's room.
The floor?
An alibi or the truth?
I know it's the floor. Now I think it's an alibi.
She wasn't inconsistent when she told this story. She told everyone, I was lying in Ash's room, I was lying down with him. What does reason tell you? What does experience tell you? When she wakes up, she goes back to her room.
No, I was
Eric
lying
appears
down.
to be asleep. We don't know for sure what happens over the next 15 minutes or so. The state asks you to leap to conclusions about what she was doing during that time. Yet they have not shown you any evidence of this. They just tell you to believe it. But what does reason tell you? She gets up. She goes to the bathroom. She picks up her phone. We all pick up our phone all the time. Been away from it for an hour or two. She goes to the bathroom. Maybe she walks to the kitchen. Maybe she gets a drink of water. Maybe she lets out the dog.
Maybe she puts on a speakerphone to talk to somebody.
She goes back to her bedroom, phone probably in hand, gets into the bed next to her husband, again, realizes he's cold, pulls up the blanket, realizes something's wrong, and turns on the light. It probably takes a moment or two for her brain to register what she's seen. And then she makes that call that nobody ever wants to make. She calls 911. A big part of this state's case is that Ms. Richins is not grieving properly. You heard this from a couple of different witnesses, 2 or 3. What does that mean? I was unexpectedly widowed when I was not much older than Kouri, and I had 2 little boys. How do you judge someone in that moment? If I've learned one thing during this trial, I've learned I didn't grieve right. I didn't know that, but it's clear now that I didn't. They want you to look at a woman in the worst moment of her life and to judge her grief. There is no wrong way to grieve. They're asking you to judge how she is acting at that moment and then use that moment of evidence of guilt. In the opening, we pointed out, and quick, go ahead and put it on that the state looks at facts one way and sees a witch. But if you look at those facts another way, you see a widow. Here's an example.
Remember? Yeah, that was in their
Hands
open
over her
statement.
face, curled up. A witch, hiding because she's done something wrong, or a widow, hiding and blocking out what has just happened to her, what has just happened to her children, which has just happened to her family and to her life. Look familiar? Portrayals of women grieving in art. Portrayals of women in grief. The state tells you during evidence that, oh, she didn't immediately talk to Gene Richins when he came to the house because she felt so guilty she couldn't talk to him. Or was it because she didn't want to tell a father his son had died? Oh, she didn't tell the boys when she should have. It was weird. She didn't go talk to them. They were in the playroom. Again, because she felt guilty, or because she was dreading the most difficult conversation, the conversation nobody,
They had already seen.
no
They already knew
mother
what was going
ever
on.
wants to have with her young sons. Their father is dead. The father that everyone agrees was a wonderful father is gone, and she has to tell those little boys, you're never going to see him again. Believe me, that conversation may be the worst moment in a mother's life. How can a woman be judged on how she handles that moment? You heard her friend Allie staking. When Allie arrived at the home that day, she said Kouri was clearly upset. She said she was distraught. This is someone who's known her since junior high, not an officer who met her 5 minutes ago. She said Kouri was acting as you would expect. That night, friends came over to talk about Eric, to drink to Eric. A wake is what the Irish call it. The state wants you to leap to the conclusion that that night, Kouri was celebrating Eric's death. You heard Allie stalking. They were celebrating Eric's life. They kept it light for the boys. They were dancing, they were smiling. All of them were, even Eric's sister. Can we not smile in our grief? They want to tell you no. But reason and experience tells you differently. Let's talk about the investigation. The investigation in this matter was nothing but sloppy. It was driven by bias. Did you notice during the state's closing they didn't really even talk about the investigation? Instead, they speculated. What was in people's heads? What were they thinking? Speculation, conjecture, not proof. Instead of looking at the evidence to determine what happened, the state they determined what happened, and then they found the evidence to support it. This is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is when you favor evidence that supports a belief and ignore evidence that contradicts it. That is how this entire case was investigated, working backwards from a conclusion. It started on March 4th. Detective Woody, before she's even entered the home, Amy Richins tells her they think Kouri is somehow involved. Then both Katie and Amy Richins tell Detective Woody they think this is because she recently found out about a trust
They were right.
created. Immediately, this influenced this investigation. But what happened that first day? They found nothing to support foul play. Kouri tells them he was a user of THC gummies, that maybe he used one that night. They never ask where the gummies are. They do a cursory search of the bedroom and bathroom. They admit that they don't look in places where the gummies were found a month later, high up in the bathroom, high above the refrigerator, high up in the laundry room, somewhere in a pocket of either Kouri or Eric's jacket in a closet. All places where they would have been put out of reach of children. But they didn't find any of them that day. You know what else they didn't do? They didn't secure the scene. They moved things around. They told you they didn't have probable cause to search the whole house. We couldn't search the whole house. All we could do was look in the bedroom and the bathroom. But they could have asked for consent. Kouri gave them consent when they asked to search one place outside of the bedroom. The entire house could have been searched that day, but they didn't do it. They didn't even ask. What else happens that morning? Officer Nguyen, he does his death checklist. He says, did he have any history of prescription abuse? Did he have any history of illicit drug use? And what does Kouri tell him? No. How easy would it have been to just say yes? If she had just killed him with illicit drugs, why in the name of God did she just not say yes? Had she said yes, we probably wouldn't all be sitting here today. She didn't say yes because she did not know how he had died.
Scott.
Over the last 4 years, they've gone back to that house.
And if I had wheels, I'd be a bicycle. She's stupid. Like, what do you mean? Everything else points there.
10 more times. And they still can't tell you what happened the early morning of March 4th, 2022. 10 warrants. That's a lot. That's not typical. They were still searching for evidence on February 9th of this year, 2 weeks before trial. 4 years of investigation. And they are still trying to find evidence to make their case because they know they don't have enough. They're still trying to prove Kouri Richins guilty. So let's talk about Todd Gabler. In comes Todd Gabler, the private investigator. Jeff O'Driscoll told you, well, he was an investigator for the estate. Just the civil case. Seriously? He's putting trackers on the car of Kouri, her mother, her brother. He's trying to track Carmen Lober's car. He's providing evidence to the police. Detective Woody testified that this information from the private investigator is what helped advance their investigation. He testified he was in the house alone numerous times, finding things the police didn't, not using gloves, calling law enforcement when he found things. He said he didn't need a babysitter while he did all these things, which is different than what Clint Benson told you. He said nobody was ever in that house without me being there. That wasn't true. What he told you wasn't true. Todd Gabler was in and out of that house numerous times by himself.
Yeah,
He
but
also
was on the
told
way.
you that he was completely fair and unbiased, testing 2 hypotheses. His hypotheses, suicide and homicide. He ignored any others, including accident. And how did he handle this unbiased testing of
Take a word for it.
hypotheses? You heard Josh Grossman. He said the first time he talked to Todd Gabler said right out of the gate, Kouri killed Eric. Josh told you that tainted what he thought of next. How does it not taint an interview when your opening line is, oh, Kouri killed Eric, so now let's tell me what you have, what you know. Josh told you he started looking back at things differently than he had before because of that. Like I said.
Someone, Carmen, who had like the obituary or memorial picture of Eric suspiciously there on her vision board or whatever.
He tracked Kouri's car, he tracked her
And she was like connected to everything else.
family's car, he tracked Carmen Lober car. He didn't track Cody Wright's car. He had more to gain from Eric's death than anyone. He didn't track anyone involved
Wouldn't Josh have more to gain?
in the civil case regarding the trust. He only tracked people that he
Cody was her business partner, right? Cody had the most to gain from his death?
thought might lead to information for law enforcement. Did he follow up on Eric's trip to Mexico shortly before the death? No. Did he go to Mexico? Did he try and figure out where Eric had been in Sonora, Mexico? No. Nothing about that investigation was unbiased. Nothing. He passed it all on to law enforcement. And then what he did is he said to law enforcement, you should talk to Carmen Lober. She's on the ropes in drug court. This would be a really good time to interview her because she would be very likely to be compliant at this time.
Todd hates law enforcement, by the way. He thinks they're incompetent. So I think she's trying to paint him out as like this goody two-shoes who just tells cops everything. He does everything by the book, how it should be done, above and beyond, actually. So I don't think Todd is biased at all.
Everything about this investigation was led by the Richins family. They started on day 1 and they continued until trial. They are the ones who initially hired and paid for experts. Their private investigator gave information to the police. You know, and by the way, Gabler testified that he followed all the rules of being a private investigator. And that
I think it shows a lot too that Todd has never testified for the state before this case as well. He's always hired by the family and he's always testifying for the family, usually because the state drops the ball. So in this one instance, he thought it was important enough to come testify for the state while he had his neck infused not too long earlier. That's why he had the neck brace.
that may very well be true. But he doesn't have to operate under the Constitution. There's a reason that we have rights under the Constitution. There is a reason that law enforcement has to get warrants to enter your home, to take electronics, to search your house.
He had permission. He didn't need a warrant.
It is to protect the citizens of our country. It is to protect the innocent. Sidestepping these important constitutional rights by hiring a private investigator who then let law enforcement know what to do taints this entire investigation. And you know what? That is terrifying. It's terrifying. If someone has enough money to hire a PI, they can circumvent our constitutional rights, dig into every aspect of our rights, of our lives, and turn it over to police.
God forbid someone competent be on this case. God forbid we get a witness or somebody who knows information to actually cooperate with police and give them what they need to make a conviction. I mean, I don't want to live in that world.
We have a constitution for a reason. It's to protect us all. I want to talk about the lead investigator, Jeff O'Driscoll. Here's what he testified that his investigation consisted of. He got assigned to the case sometime in March of 2023. He got a search warrant for some medical records. He thinks he got a search warrant for a couple of cell phones. He interviewed Chelsea Barney, where they discovered that they were wrong about some text messages. Law enforcement was wrong with what they thought they were looking for. He interviewed someone named Jake Sorensen, who must not have had anything important to say because we never heard from him. Then he interviews Carmen Lober, because he was told to by the private investigator. That's it. That was the investigation. He didn't investigate any other leads. He didn't attempt to corroborate information.
Are we just going to leave out the fact that he had cloned, was it Kouri's phone? Either Kouri or Eric's phone. Must have been Kouri's. And that he knew? That's how Carmen even became on his radar? Because of text messages and shit? You think he just picked a fucking person out of the air and it's like, yeah, this person's in court for drugs, so you probably just twist their arm, you know? Other than that, I have no actual evidence to think that she did this.
Particularly in the letter that we saw that
Todd's probably yelling at the screen right now.
Kouri wrote to her mother, the walk the dog letter. Now, he told you he didn't need to corroborate that because he didn't get that letter till after Kouri was arrested. So, you know, I guess the state was done. You wouldn't want to start looking for things that might show her innocent. You've arrested her. Interestingly, they were still executing search warrants. They were still trying to find evidence for guilt, but they weren't looking at any evidence that might show innocence. It is absolutely possible that everything she said in that letter was true. In fact, at least 3 things in that letter were corroborated by the state's own witnesses. But they didn't investigate it. Again, ignore what might contradict your theory. Confirmation bias, reasonable doubt. Also remember that letter never went to anyone. So it was nothing more than thoughts on paper. That's all that letter was. What else didn't he do?
She thought important enough to write down.
He didn't interview the person Eric was talking to in Mexico the night of his death, and we'll come back to that, but he didn't follow up on that. He said that. He didn't follow up on where Eric went in Mexico or who he was communicating with in Mexico when he was there. He didn't investigate what Eric did or where he went on February 14th, 2022. He didn't follow up to see did Eric go to the hospital that day. In fact, he did nothing regarding that day. Nothing. What else? He didn't find fentanyl anywhere. Allegedly, there were 90 to 120 pills of something. At least oxycodone. Where were they? I guess somebody took them. But they didn't have them, so whatever pills Carmen may or may not have provided to Kouri were gone. They no longer existed. They couldn't find or test those pills. And we do know that she bought oxycodone, but you know what? There was no oxycodone in Eric's stomach that night. So instead, Detective O'Driscoll says, well, we wanted to corroborate Carmen's story. I mean, we were going to corroborate it. We weren't just going to go by it. The story that they fed her. They want to corroborate the truth. They wanted to corroborate a story. Again, let's find what confirms our theory. Let's ignore what doesn't. Confirmation bias. Reasonable doubt. Sitting here in this courtroom after 4 years of investigation, there was an awful lot that O'Driscoll just could not tell you. Things he couldn't remember. He couldn't remember what people had told him in interviews. For example, he was asked, did you interview Eric's allergy doctor? Well, yes, but I can't remember what he said. Well, that might have been important because he testified the EpiPens in the house belonged.
Imagine if it was relevant, he would have remembered.
To the children. Well, maybe because Eric had recently used his a couple of weeks earlier when he had an allergic reaction. He said, well, if I could have a few minutes, I could find out what was said. I could give you more information. We were in trial. He was on the stand 4 years after Eric had died. 3 years after he'd been appointed as lead investigator. And either he wasn't prepared to testify,
that's him,
or he just didn't know. He is the lead investigator. Now the state elicited testimony from him that how could he possibly know the entire case? It's just too much. I couldn't know all of that information.
Do you think this is the only case he's ever worked on?
But he's the one they put on. He's the one they relied on to testify about this investigation. You didn't hear from anyone else about the last 3 years of that investigation. They chose him. You know what else he couldn't testify to? He couldn't testify how the fentanyl got into Eric's system. He said, well, he ingested it.
Yeah, because anything else would be speculation. Basically, he knew enough of what he wanted to testify for, and anything else, any other stupid question, he can just say, "Yeah, I don't recall. I'm not gonna play ball with stupid defense who wants to frame me in a light that's gonna be in bad faith."
There was no evidence, none, that fentanyl was
And it's probably not his first rodeo in court either.
put in a drink. That was argument. Argument is not evidence, and they waited until closing to tell you, oh, she put it in a drink, without any evidence to back that up. Okay, she made him a drink that night, but that's it.
I think it was
She
been
made him
implied the whole time.
There's no evidence that fentanyl was in that drink.
Where did it come from?
And the lead detective who couldn't tell you anything, he sat through this entire trial. He heard every witness testify. He had an opportunity to form his answers or reform his answers based on what he knew other people had said.
You know what? I figured it out, you guys. It was the fentanyl fairy. The fentanyl fairy came in the middle of the night and sprinkled fentanyl in his mouth or belly, I guess, and then he died.
And yet he still didn't know the evidence.
Couldn't have been the drink.
I want to talk a minute about deleted texts and the phone searches just quickly. Deleted texts. They said there were deleted texts off Kouri's phone, and that it looks like that probably was true. Why would you delete texts off your phone? Maybe because you were having an affair over the last 2 years? You might want to delete that off your phone.
Why not just delete the affair then?
Before your whole husband's family finds out about it. Maybe because she
Josh has the mess. Josh would have kept the messages. That's how they got the messages, I'm pretty sure. That's Nicole Kidman. She got throat punched.
was buying oxycodone. I mean, she asked Carmen for pain pills. Doesn't mean she killed her husband. But you probably want that off of your phone. The phone searches. So the evidence showed that Kouri found out on April 13th that Eric died of a fentanyl overdose. And that's the day they took her phone and she gets a new phone. These searches are all done on that new phone. Searches of how much fentanyl does it take to kill someone, or how much fentanyl is a lethal overdose. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, because she just found out her husband died of a lethal overdose of fentanyl. You might want to know what that means.
Did we know when the searches were from? I think they said they couldn't pinpoint it.
And she texted other things. They
Could have been before.
said, oh, she texted about women's prisons.
It wouldn't even make sense. Like that's not a common thing. Someone who just heard their spouse has died of a fentanyl overdose would search how much fentanyl does it take. It wouldn't matter because he's dead now. And all we know is that this pill with fentanyl killed him. It's something you would search before if you were trying to kill someone, though.
Of course she's worried. An innocent person would be worried. Anyone would be worried if they just found out that they are...
Maybe if he was on the verge of death and they knew how much fentanyl was in the system and you wanted to know because you were worried about him dying. But no one searches that after they're dead.
a suspect in a homicide investigation. She would have been scared to death. She was looking for information based on what she found out after Eric died. All right, what do we know about those last few hours before Eric's death? It's not a lot, but we do know some things from the autopsy and the toxicology reports. We know that he had fentanyl in both his blood and his stomach. We know he had quetiapine and alcohol only in his stomach and not his blood. So this means the quetiapine had to be taken after the fentanyl. Had they been taken together, they would have both been in his blood.
Why'd take Seroquel?
We know there was no histamine response, no anaphylaxis. So he had not had an allergic reaction to anything in his body that night, including fentanyl. The state wants you to believe that the allergic reaction he had on February 14th was to fentanyl. If he had an allergic reaction on February 14th, he would have had one again 3 weeks later. Now, I know the toxicologist testified, well, you don't have an allergic reaction every time, and you can look at her testimony, but it was a little bit hard to understand, but...
Do you think that the fentanyl was in the lemon drop shot? So take the lemon drop shot, fentanyl's in your system, put this Seroquel in the ginger beer. He only drinks half the ginger beer. Seroquel is in his stomach, technically. Do you think she gave him the Seroquel so he would... Because that'll work as a sleeping aid as well. They'll prescribe that for like a sleeping pill. So, because if you tried to kill him already with a sandwich, and all he did was take a nap and get kind of paranoid about it and try to go to the hospital, you wouldn't want him doing that again. You would want him to be knocked the fuck out. So is that the reasoning? Like, and she's prescribed the Seroquel. He's not. Is he just... I find it hard to believe he's just popping her Seroquel.
I believe she was talking about, you might eat peanuts for a lot of times and then have an allergic reaction, and then it starts. Once you have an allergic reaction to something, it doesn't typically...
I love how the defense just kind of makes the case for the other side, like the prosecutor.
...would go away.
I love you.
We know he had norfentanyl in his body, and this is because his body had started to metabolize the fentanyl. The state's toxicologist told you that the fentanyl could have been left over from a previous use. That was a possibility.
No.
A
lethal amount of fentanyl could have been left over in your body from a previous use. So he just did a lethal amount of fentanyl, was walking around fine, and then died later, like a day. What are you talking about?
Reasonable possibility. The fentanyl was there from a previous use.
Three times the lethal amount? I think it might have been 5 times actually, because the lethal amount's 3 nanograms and he had 15, right? So like 3 times 5 is 15. Am I going crazy right now?
That was the evidence. That is reasonable doubt. What else do we know from the ME and the toxicologist?
No, that literally doesn't make sense. Like, I'm actually really confused right now.
Well, we know that the fentanyl was not put in a drink. And how do we know this? There was only fentanyl in the blood and not alcohol. The state's toxicologist leaned toward the fact that maybe Eric didn't even drink alcohol, that the alcohol in his stomach was post-mortem decomposition.
What?
But the other scenario...
So you're going against what your own fucking person is saying? You're the person you're defending is saying that she saw him and she made him alcoholic beverage, and you're disputing this? What the fuck is happening? This is worse than I thought it'd be.
...that she said that was possible was that Eric took the fentanyl, then took the quetiapine, had a small amount of alcohol. She testified that it would take 15 to 60 minutes for fentanyl to make its way into the blood. That alcohol takes 15 to 30 minutes to make its way into the blood. So if the alcohol and fentanyl were taken together, they both would have been there at the same time in the blood. But just the fact that one reasonable possibility is that the fentanyl was taken before the quetiapine and the alcohol gives you reasonable doubt that it was placed in a drink an hour earlier. Now the state's saying, well, maybe she put it in a non-alcoholic drink. So their celebratory drink maybe didn't have alcohol in it. There's no evidence of that, but they're throwing around a lot of theories. Why is that? Because they don't have one. They don't know what happened. Dr.
He died. Eric died. We know that happened. We know it was a fentanyl overdose. And there's just the things that they're speculating on are kind of meaningless at this point, to be honest. But show us who is responsible then. You're gonna have to give us some like actual evidence, like, I don't know, get Eric's drug dealer up on the stand or some shit, or get Carmen to say that, yeah, no, it was for Eric. Get out of here.
Christensen and Dr. Ulmer testified that the manner of death could not be determined. This is really important. Dr. Christensen testified the ME's office didn't know enough about Eric's history to determine if it was an accident. They also didn't have enough information to determine it was a homicide. The ME had at least a reasonable doubt as to the cause of death. And the ME isn't held to the high standard that the state is. And there was no evidence that the
Do they have the medical examiner on stand?
autopsy couldn't have been amended at a later date if additional information was received. The ME testified.
She wanted to have his body cremated.
Excuse me. The ME didn't tell you that they couldn't amend the autopsy. He just told you they didn't. What else didn't they do? Why didn't they do a hair follicle test? Dr. Christensen said, well, we don't do that unless we're asked to. Who would you be asked to do that by? Law enforcement.
On Eric?
Again, Summit
little
County
hairs?
was only looking for evidence to confirm their theory. Evidence to support that Kouri was behind Eric's death. They did not want to look for evidence that contradicted that theory. Had they done that test, we might have our answer. Confirmation bias. All right.
I bet you if they did that test and at point it showed he was guilty, you'd still be spinning some other shit. I don't think they would have really mattered, to be honest. They didn't touch his toenails.
Start with the means. The state did not and cannot prove that Kouri ever purchased fentanyl.
No.
Carmen Lober. Interestingly, they barely mention Carmen Lober in their closing. The only witness who can put fentanyl into Kouri's hand. Let's talk about her testimony. Admittedly, a lot of it was painful to watch. And in some ways, she's sympathetic. But she is looking at multiple long prison sentences. And her only way out, her only way was to testify at this trial. But what she could not do was put fentanyl in Kouri Richins' hands. She told you that she had no memory of what actually took place in 2022. During those interviews, she told detectives over and over again, my brain is fried. I've been using drugs since 6th grade. My memory is gone. So what she testified to you wasn't what she remembered. She admitted on the stand that what she testified to was what she had been shown, what she had been told. Detective O'Driscoll told you that Carmen Lober could not remember the purchase of drugs after Eric had died. When asked by Ms. Nestor if at least one of the times that Carmen allegedly purchased drugs from Mr. Crozier and brought them to Kouri was after Eric's death, his response was, her testimony was not that. She didn't remember it that way. We found digital evidence that supported that. But you know what? She did testify to that. She testified at length and in detail about something that even Detective O'Driscoll said she didn't remember.
It's really weird because, she said the only interaction she really had with Eric is like when he would come home and be like, hey, you guys are working too late. You guys should get out of here. You're working too hard. And that was about it. So if this is just someone who hires you to clean houses, husband, who you sometimes sell drugs to, your employer, not your employer's husband, and he dies. Why would that affect you so much to make it the centerpiece of your vision board on why recovery is important and why you're going to stay clean and not sell drugs anymore? Why would that? I'm sure there's been other people in her life that have died around her in the world of drugs other than this random fucking husband of her employer. You know what I'm saying? So we don't even need Carmen's testimony. But you just gotta think of the bigger picture here.
Carmen Lober was not able to tell you that
She might not be a reliable witness. It doesn't matter.
she bought fentanyl. She agreed on the stand that it was the detectives that first put the word fentanyl in her mouth, in her head. She was told by detectives in this case that she bought fentanyl. Eric died of fentanyl. You bought drugs. You bought fentanyl. She took that story and she ran with it because she had everything to lose. And Detectives O'Driscoll and Detective Maynard told her, you are getting a big, giant get-out-of-jail-free card. And what do you have to do to get that big, giant get-out-of-jail-free card?
Tell the truth.
Give them the details that will ensure Kouri gets convicted of murder. You heard that from O'Driscoll's own mouth.
Okay, Katie. It's the big day tomorrow. These are our closing statements. We are going to need to wow the jury. All right. What did you get? What do you got for us? Well, I got some three pictures of random women throughout history, and I think they're statues of them huddled up in a ball, looking down. We got that, and I also have a Monopoly get out of jail free card. What do you think? I think we're gonna win.
He tried to explain it away, but he went in and he told this woman,
I think I love Katie.
get out of jail free card, give us the details to ensure Kouri gets convicted of murder. She had to tell them that. She had to tell you that. She had to say she purchased fentanyl. The detectives walked into those interviews not to find out what happened, but to get Ms. Lober to confirm what they already had decided happened. Again, confirmation bias. She told them at that first interview, I literally never dealt with fentanyl. And she had reason not to deal with fentanyl. She told you that. She had a daughter who had overdosed from fentanyl. She was afraid of fentanyl. She told them that Kouri asked for something for an investor's bad back. Maybe it was for Eric. But she told them that
I would rewind if we
weren't
weren't already so far behind.
And that later she asked for something stronger. She asked for the Michael Jackson drug. She told them Kouri never asked for fentanyl. She admitted that she got the word fentanyl from Detectives O'Driscoll and Maynard. She told them she couldn't remember. She asked them to lay it out for her, to put the pieces of the puzzle together, to write it down and I'll sign it. They argued that was because, well, she didn't want to write it in her cell. That's why they wanted us to write it. Well, she could have written it right there at the table, I suppose. But you know what else? Remember? She also told the Assistant United States Attorney basically the same thing. Put it together for me. And the U.S. Attorney, or the Assistant U.S. Attorney, said, oh, we don't do it that way. You have to tell us what you remember. Mm-hmm. They literally offered a big, giant get-out-of-jail-free card.
There, she put it back up again.
Last question to Detective O'Driscoll, they brought up the TV show The House of Cards, but who held all of the cards in this case? Jeff O'Driscoll told you. Carmen Lober held all of the cards.
What a crazy
Their
lady.
entire house of cards is being held up by her. And now at trial 3 years later, she comes in here and says she bought oxycodone once and fentanyl 3 times. Oh, she had her story down. She told it very nicely on direct. But when pressed, she couldn't remember anything. Not from 2022, not from 2023. She couldn't remember on Friday what she...
You want to know why she probably wanted them to piece it together? So you don't want to implicate yourself in other possible crimes and stuff. You know what I mean? If you're 100% truthful, you might implicate a whole bunch of other people who might not like that. It might come after you in the future. It's just the way things are. So, like, go off, Bart Simpson.
He testified to on Thursday. And you know, I didn't ask her about her mental health or her learning disability to be mean. I asked her because it explains why she was so easily convinced by law enforcement as to what she needed to do and what she needed to say. She described her learning disability as low education. Well, you can decide what that means for yourself, but one possibility is she has an intellectual disability. And if that is the case, she is more vulnerable to suggestibility than most people. Easy to manipulate. And they took advantage of this. We all saw it. They did too, but they had to find someone who would confirm their theory. But you know what? Through all of this, there were a handful of things that Carmen Lober was consistent about. There were a few. Kouri asked for some pain medication. Kouri said that in the walk the dog letter. Then she told
I thought that was a fictional fucking thing that she was just writing herself. It was gonna be in a book or whatever.
you, I brought oxycodone from Susan Kohler on February 11th. Prescription oxycodone. Now that's important because if Kouri had any pain pills before February 14th, these were likely what she had. She said Kouri never asked for fentanyl. She said that in all of her interviews. Carmen never asked Robert Crozier for fentanyl. She said that. She was consistent with that. But she bought
What's up with the defective patches?
pills from Robert Crozier. That the pills she got from him were light green. 15 to 20 milligram oxycodone pills. When she bought from him again, she asked for more of the same. Those are the things she said throughout. Everything she said, every other thing she said has changed multiple times. It changed again while she was on the stand. Now she says the number of purchases were more. That changed. The date changed.
I don't do opioids anymore. And I'm not in that world. But I think fentanyl kind of has a stigma on it. I don't think people who necessarily are doing fentanyl know they're doing fentanyl. And I don't think they're necessarily like explicitly asking for it. It's like they just want some like oxys or roxys or hydros, and then they're fakes and they're cut with fent. But who knows? Maybe there's a market for people who just love fentanyl.
For the
like Xavier.
first time, she says that Crozier was the first one to say the word fentanyl. It's the first time we've heard that. Wasn't in the interviews.
I feel like Xavier's just an easy guy to sell drugs to. It's like no one wants these fucking pills. They know they have fentanyl in them. I'll hit up Xavier. He'll pay full price. Hey, Xavier, want these pills? They have fentanyl in them? Yeah, they do. Awesome. He loves that shit. Yeah, the Michael Jackson stuff.
She's not a truthful person. There were a couple of little things she lied on the stand about. Not super important, but I'm going to point them out because they were just untruths. When I asked her if she was on any medication for her anxiety or any other illnesses, she said no. But then later, when Mr. Bloodworth
She said she didn't have a mental illness.
asked her, she said yes, she was on medications. They were in her car in her purse.
For anxiety, which isn't a mental illness. Is it? I don't think you could classify that. She's kind of misrepresenting things here.
She told you Nancy Peterson drove to buy the drugs because she didn't have a driver's license. When we showed her that photo was reversed and that she was driving, did you notice how smoothly that story changed? Oh, well, yeah, I drove one way, she drove the other. By the way, where's Nancy Peterson? There was someone who might have been able to confirm Carmen's story, but we didn't hear from her. What else did Carmen lie about? She said on that stand, and she told you, I never violated drug court after I got out, my get out of jail free card in May of 2023. But then when confronted, she had to admit, oh yeah, I did. That's right. She told you,
want to fuck up her drug court?
well, I was holding a can of alcohol, but I didn't drink it. When confronted, though, she had to admit that wasn't true. She said on the stand, and she told you that. Oh, I just held it. Oh, but you told your probation officer you drank it? Oh, yeah, I guess I drank it. But what's the most important thing she admitted to lying to? She lied to a judge. She lied to a judge by writing a letter saying that she had been 100% compliant with drug court. And why did she lie to that judge? She wanted to go to Vegas. And she told you on the stand, she admitted it. Yeah, I was untruthful with the judge to get something that I wanted.
I don't think this really matters. Oh, drug dealers lie? We gotta throw the whole case out then. I guess the person who killed this other person with the drugs they bought from that drug dealer, because the drug dealer lied. Mistrial. That just doesn't work like that. You goofball.
She was untruthful
Lied to a judge. Yeah, no shit. She doesn't want to go to jail.
because she wanted to go to Vegas. There is a lot more at stake here than going to Vegas.
No, Kouri refused. Or what was it? She waived her right to testify.
She is again being untruthful to get what she wants. And what she wants this time is to stay out of prison. And she will say whatever she needs to make that happen. You know what else she got by telling that story in addition to her get out of jail free card? She also got an advance straight to go and pass drug court on the way card. No.
Admits when the evidence is presented in front of her, and this is why I keep bringing it up too. The vision board in her private life, where no one else sees, is a huge tell of what's going on in her head than what she's telling law enforcement and the people who are trying to put her in jail. There is some connection, and that's why Todd made the connection too. It's not like the prosecution just grasping at straws like the defense is. So their defense is trying to make it seem like.
No more showing up at drug court.
They didn't just pick Carmen because she had drug court and say, oh, we can pin this on her pretty easily.
And she told you drug court's tough, but she didn't have to go anymore. No regular check-ins. She just had to text hi or Lober to Detective Maynard. And most importantly, no more drug tests. She's still on probation. Still waiting to go to court to see if her charges will be dismissed. And she's not being drug tested. Is she telling you the truth about being clean? We have absolutely no way to know. She got everything she wanted by testifying to things that she admitted she had no memory of. Can you feel for Carmen Lober? You can. Can you believe her beyond a reasonable doubt? You cannot. And if you can't believe her beyond a reasonable doubt, you have to find Kouri Richins not guilty.
No. No.
I don't want to talk about Robert Crozier, because he's also an addict, and he also changed his story.
Let me just paint you guys a picture for a second. Imagine that this was Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen gets drugs from some guy who's a liar, all right? Charlie Sheen gets the drugs. He fucking overdoses his girlfriend, kills her, and then he's on trial. And we're expected to just throw the whole thing out because Charlie Sheen's drug dealer is a liar? It doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't even matter where she got the drugs from, to be honest, but it just so happens to be Carmen.
But what makes him different? First, his original story.
I know, right? Actual Monopoly card.
Was given in a 13-minute interview while he was coming down from drugs. Not in 10 hours of interviews over multiple days. Detectives came in and they told him he sold fentanyl. So
if you can't trust a junkie, you've got to find this woman innocent of murder.
No, we know you sold fentanyl. You just need to confirm it. We won't jam you up. Just tell us you sold fentanyl. And he agreed with them. And they asked, did Carmen Lober know she got fentanyl? And he said, absolutely. But what did he explain to you on the stand? Now that he's been through rehab, now that we know he's sober, he gave people what they asked for when he was selling drugs. He always gave them what they asked for. So when detectives came in and said, well, you sold Carmen fentanyl, Carmen asked for fentanyl, he said yes. He said, what I meant is, if that's what she asked for, that's what I gave her. What else makes him different, though, from Carmen Lober? He changed his story from what the prosecution wanted him to say to what they didn't want him to say. Not the other way around. Why do this? Why would he risk his immunity? It would have been so much easier for him just to stick with his original story. Let's go back. So he gives that original story in April of 23. He sobers up. He meets with the state. He meets with Mr. Bloodworth in April of 25, before he ever spoke to me or to Mr. Berman. And he tells them at that time that he got it wrong. He says, no, I sold Carmen oxycodone, not fentanyl. And how does he know this? He told you. Because he didn't start selling fentanyl until late 2022. And he sold to Carmen Lober in early 2022.
Like we were saying earlier, you could think you're buying oxys and they just are fentanyl pills sold as oxys. It's a common fucking thing.
Also, his source gave him fentanyl that was so dark it was almost purple. It wasn't light green. It wasn't light blue. Okay, so then he meets with our team in October of 25. He says the same thing. He signed an affidavit swearing it to be true. He testified to the same thing at trial. I was only selling Oxy in 2022. And not only that, he told you it was prescription Oxy from a pharmacy. So not fake Oxy that was actually fentanyl, but real Oxy. And he was a bit of an expert on the topic. I think he knew more than the drug expert did.
Robbie the drug dealer who I couldn't even get through his questioning because he's an idiot. What are you talking about right now? The fuck are we on?
He told you, light green pills, those were 15 to 20 milligram pills. Light blue pills, those were 30 milligram pills. His prescription was 10 milligram pills. He knew his stuff.
Do you know your stuff, Bart?
He was a pretty successful drug dealer. And he told you when I sold fentanyl, those pills were almost purple. What did he have to gain by testifying to this? He's never met Kouri Richins. He'd never met Eric Richins. He didn't know Carmen. He isn't getting anything from anyone. It's for these reasons that his testimony is more credible than Carmen's. Her freedom is at stake, so she had to say fentanyl. She has to give them Kouri. He has nothing to gain. He just told you the truth.
Bart Simpson's kind of gal who watches Ancient Aliens, like, oh yeah, that guy really knows his stuff because I know nothing about history. Because you know nothing about dealing. Like,
the state told you in closing that they traced the fentanyl. It's absolutely not true. Carmen never even looked at those pills. She didn't test those pills. She didn't take any of them, according to her. And we don't know where any of them are. Where are these some odd 90 to 120 pills?
maybe we'll have to watch his questioning too. I wonder, like, if I was the state and I knew they were gonna use this guy as like a fucking credible sources of information, more though than the drug experts, I would have been like, okay, so how do you test a drug? How, like, when you have a pill, how do you test to see what's in it? What, you got a lab? You got a device to do it? How do you do it? I don't know how to, I just do some of the drug. And then you base it off of like what you're feeling. Okay, well that's bullshit. I don't think that's a fucking accurate way of telling what is inside these pills you're buying off of the street, who you're being told is a script by somebody. Are they your script? Are you getting this from a doctor directly? If not, then you're full of shit, and you're just making shit up at this point. You could think you know your shit and still be wrong.
They didn't trace that fentanyl. We have no idea where that is. They didn't trace any fentanyl. So how did Eric end up ingesting fentanyl? What other reasonable explanation might there be? You know, I'm not going to stand here and say to you that Eric Richins was a drug addict. He wasn't a Carmen Lober. He wasn't a Robert Crozier. I don't think the evidence shows that. But that doesn't mean he didn't use. That doesn't mean he didn't ask Kouri to get him pain pills. He probably did. So what do we know? We know Eric was in pain. He had Lyme disease, which can be very painful. He had back pain. He had knee pain. We know he'd been in Mexico not long before his death. Look at what he was doing right before his death. So right before his death, he's texting Pedro Sonora, back and forth, back and forth.
Who?
Did they interview him? Like we said, no.
How come you guys didn't call him to the stand? What did he have to say? Who is this guy?
He texts his friend Scott Wagner. More, Pedro Sonora. From 8:30, between 8:30 and 8:36, he texts him 1, 2, 3, well, these are back and forth. But between them, there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, Pedro has to be a drug dealer, you guys. It can't be anyone else.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 texts. He gets a call from Scott Wagner. What's his last Google search? How far is it from Scottsdale to Nogales? And then he gets a text from Raul. We also don't know anything about Raul.
What was Eric doing in Mexico? Like, what was he actually doing in Mexico? Wasn't he a hunter? Was he hunting? Is there anything to hunt in Mexico? Or sure these aren't just like his buddies in fucking Mexico?
Maybe he made other calls. The state said maybe Kouri was calling on the Wi-Fi. Maybe so was he. We don't know who else he talked to, but this is what we do know.
Maybe you should have done more to look into this. It's in the state's fucking responsibility.
Oh, which this is a good place to bring up, I think, that the state did stand up here and they told you that we said things in opening that didn't come in during trial, and that's true. Strategies change during trial. But remember, we are not the ones under an obligation to put on any evidence. It's not us. We're not under an obligation to prove anything. It's them. Okay, so what else do we find on that first day that Eric died? What else do they find? The hydrocodone bottle. Whatever happened to that bottle? Why wasn't it tested? What was kept in that bottle? The bottle's sitting right...
Why was it even there? It's almost like it was planted there. From 2016. And a fucking hydrocodone from 2016 just conveniently at the scene of the death.
Right by the bed on Eric's nightstand, right next to his phone and watch that were placed neatly in his charger. An expired prescription bottle with nothing in it but residue. And you can see the residue there. Why would that be sitting out? A 6-year-old prescription bottle. What
Expired in 2020.
might be the best way to bring illegal pills back from Mexico? Put them in a prescription bottle, put them in your suitcase.
An expired prescription bottle?
What might be the best way to store your illicit oxycodone? Stick them in a prescription bottle, put them by your bed, and now that bottle's gone, and nobody knows where it is.
The Mark Hensley defense.
And you saw that white powder, and you can look back when you go back, but you saw that white powdery residue on the nightstand next to Eric. Nobody tested that either. So what's another explanation? What could have happened? Eric was about to take his last pain pill out of that bottle that he kept by the side of his bed. He's on the phone with people in Mexico. He's checking how long it takes to drive from Scottsdale to Nogales. Maybe he knew he was getting fentanyl in Mexico. Maybe he thought it was something else, and he accidentally got fentanyl. Maybe had they tested that bottle, we would know. But they didn't. You know what else we know, though? We know he had a prescription for naltrexone. And it appears he wasn't taking it. A drug used to help people control craving for drugs and alcohol. It's not a drug used to treat Lyme disease.
I mean, when I looked it up, it said it is. It can be used for that.
There's a reasonable alternative. Reasonable doubt. All right, I'm going to move to motive. The state absolutely did not prove that Kouri's relationship with Josh Grossman was a motive to kill her husband. Josh and Kouri had been seeing each other on and off for about 2 years. You heard from Josh. He testified that their future together was a fantasy. At no time did Kouri ever lead him to believe that she was going to leave Eric for him.
Yeah, she did. Also, what? It's not a motive because I say so? What do you mean? How is it not a motive?
It was clear that Josh loved Kouri more than she loved him.
It's like the most common motive.
You could see it in his face. You could see it in his demeanor. You can look at the text shortly before Eric died where Kouri was trying to break up with him. The state wants you to find that the conversation Kouri had with Josh about his time in Iraq is somehow evidence or proof of murder. But Josh told you she was grieving, that conversation was about life and death and Eric and bow hunting and the supernatural, that it really didn't even seem that unusual at the time. He only thought it seemed unusual when the private investigator told him Kouri killed Eric. It's not evidence of a homicide. It isn't proof of anything. Yes, they were having an affair. Eric was also having an affair, possibly more than one.
Where's the proof?
You heard there was a text about an open relationship, and they can laugh about that, but that's what the text said. And you know what? We do.
To his guy friend? I want to see these texts between him and the guy friend too, where they're like, he was gay. It's like, the private investigator was like, I don't think they're gay. The context of the text, I don't think they're gay. But they never showed us the text.
Not bring this up to make Eric out to be a bad person. It doesn't matter what he was doing in his personal life. That's not the point. The point is that there were parts of Eric's life that he didn't share with people. Just like he didn't share with Cody that he used marijuana, or even that he took prescriptions. The point is we all have secrets, and Eric had secrets. But back to Josh. The best evidence that Josh was not a motive for Kouri to kill her husband is that after Eric died, she never did get together with Josh. She didn't show up at the brunch that they'd planned to celebrate the closing on the Midway Mansion. She didn't go on a vacation with him in April. She never even finished paying for that vacation. Josh told you that Kouri changed after Eric's death, that she was grieving, that he saw less and less of her, and ultimately she broke things off. And by the way, if Kouri was as motivated by money as they would have you think, would she really have killed her wealthy husband to run off with the handyman who lived for free in one of her houses? That doesn't fit with the state's theory.
He served a purpose, dude. He was doing work for free, and he was like the fuck toy or whatever. She was stupid enough to send a text like, oh yeah, it would be so much easier if my husband was just out of the picture completely.
The state says, look at texts. Replace the words in them with different words. They stood here and made up what was inside people's heads, what they were thinking. The state has to rely on evidence. They have to prove their case, and they can't do that. The state did not prove that Kouri killed Eric in order to be with Josh. All right, money.
What about the fucking debt angle?
Money's a motive for a lot of things for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Was Kouri a brilliant businesswoman?
No.
No. Was her business struggling? Yes, it was. Was there fake it till you make it? There seemed to be a lot of that going on. Brooke Carrington testified that money was not a priority to Kouri Richins. She could have used an accountant, she said. She didn't even use QuickBooks. And this is all true. A young mother trying to run a business, like most young mothers.
They wouldn't give me a financial advisor, you guys.
Young working mothers. Did her accounting take a back seat to her family? Probably. The state also wants you to believe that Kouri was achieving her best.
She was just being too great of a mom. She got behind on the accounting. Okay.
Friend, but that,
if she had an accountant, the accountant would have been like, what is going on here?
That's not what the evidence showed. The evidence showed that the $45,000 that Chelsea gave to Kouri was not earmarked for closing. Kouri could do whatever she wanted with that money. All that mattered was that when she went to that closing on that house, that she showed up with $45,000. It didn't have to be that $45,000. It could have been $45,000 she expected to come in from another flip. But then Kouri was arrested and never got the opportunity to do that. That's why that house was closed.
She misrepresented what she was doing.
But you know what the evidence has shown? That Kouri, rightly or wrongly, truly believed that that Midway Mansion was going to turn everything around. They were celebrating that night.
And killing her husband.
If Kouri was going to kill Eric for money, she certainly would not have done it on the night that she believed she had just secured a multi-million-dollar property. And if you look at the state's exhibit 624D, you will see that Kouri actually made a profit on every single home that she flipped.
I would
She
hope.
had reason to believe that she was going to make a profit on this one too. All the foreclosures, those were all after her arrest. And something else, they say it would have cost way more money than she had to rehab the mansion to live in it with Josh, which again, Josh said was fantasy, that wasn't going to happen. But if you don't believe him, look at text. Look at State's Exhibit 2-17D on page 33. This is where she and Eric are going back and forth on how much it would cost to rehab the mansion. And he says, we can't afford that. We don't even have time for that. What does she tell him? And you can look at it. I don't have it word for word. She tells him, no, we're not doing that. I just need money. I just need to give the numbers, to the investors. She didn't intend to rehab that. She intended to flip it after a little cleanup. All right, I want to talk about the gifts that the...
I wonder if she's taking into account, like, the interest on the loans and everything. Like, she might have sold the places she might have been able to sell the places for more money than she initially bought them for, but she's also, like, taking out loans that are... The interest is insane on them. So I don't think she, like, actually made money off of them in the end if you look at, like, the net. But I don't even think it matters at this point. She was millions of dollars in debt.
The state talked about in their opening and throughout trial. They made such a fuss about these. They were accessed on Kouri's phone on March 4th, the morning of March 4th. They were tied.
Yeah. Why are we even bringing that? I forgot about these. Why are we bringing these up? Why are we, what?
To the celebration. That's what those were about. If you look at that exhibit, I think it's 3-40, you can see that the orphan gifts were accessed at the same time, down to the second, as a picture of the Midway Mansion.
Yeah. Yeah. Because her husband was out of the picture. What, like, idiots, all idiots. That's about the Midway Mansion. Crying with money to wipe your eyes. Why are we crying? Like, it's not... I don't know.
So what do we know about these
She did close on the mansion, but she also, like, her husband died that day.
gifts? We know that some photos were stored in a cache on the phone, not connected to any particular text. We know that they were accessed the morning of the 4th. We know that at least one of the pictures, the one of the mansion, was sent by Eric the evening before, which likely means all of these photos were sent prior to the morning of the 4th. These were not about Eric's death. She wasn't celebrating death. These gifts were sent earlier, and she was celebrating closing on that mansion. It just doesn't follow she would kill him for money.
Also doesn't follow someone who's grieving either. Right?
She received less from life insurance than she thought she was going to make on that mansion. Josh Grossman told you that she was surprised when she found out about the $1 million life insurance policy from auto insurance. It appears she didn't even know that.
Then why did she fucking forge the shit for it?
And if you take Brooke Carrington's testimony as true, and by the way, she was a good witness. She is a professional, expert witness.
Mm-hmm.
First hired by the family, and then paid $200,000 by the state. A
This
prosecution witness, sitting right here today, behind the prosecution. Very different than the MEs, who are just here to tell you their findings. But anyway, if you accept her testimony...
You're getting paid by the state too, you goofball.
The life insurance wasn't going to fix the problem anyway. Kouri spent that life insurance within a matter of weeks and was still in debt. And you know what you heard on that phone call between Bryce and Chelsea and Kouri? All I want's the home. It's all I want. They can have everything else. They can have the money. I don't care. I just want my house where I've raised my boys.
You're planning on selling it the day that he died too. So it's fucking irrelevant what she said on some phone call to save face.
And you know what? Eric was making good money. In 2020, he told Christina Miller, the attorney he went to about talking about a divorce, that he was making, his income that year was over $33,000 a month. Cody Wright testified that they made $500,000 each the last year that Eric was alive. I believe there was testimony that there were other years she made even more. Not sure about that, but I think that was in there. So if this case was about money, Eric was worth so much more to Kouri alive than dead.
No, she had already bled him dry.
Opportunity. Well, I guess her opportunity was she was the only one in the house. Who else was in the house, though? Who else had an opportunity to take those pills? Eric. 4 years later.
Smart woman. Lawyer quit.
10,000 searches. Over $300,000 worth of expert witnesses. 3 weeks of trial. The FBI, the DEA, Homeland Security, the Summit County Sheriff's Office. They cannot tell you how Eric ingested that fentanyl. They haven't done their job, and now they want you to make inferences based on paper-thin evidence. They speculated on a number of things during closing, and they want to tell you, they want you to do their job for them. Tell them no. Tell them if they're going to charge a person in your community with the most serious crime there is, they better have the facts. They better have the proof. They better have more than speculation and conjecture, because that's their job. It's not your job. All right, I want to talk about the elements. The first one,
Wind, water, fire.
aggravated murder. Okay, so they have to prove that that Kouri Richins intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Eric Richins. The state has not proven this. They haven't even proven that she obtained fentanyl. They have not proven.
Do we get to see any counter evidence, or is it just going to be like, here's typing out the law now? This is the law, okay? Yeah, if it wasn't for the law, we wouldn't be here right now.
Where the pills ended up or how Eric took them. The state stood up here and argued, well, it really doesn't matter.
I guess they showed proof of texts being sent between Pedro and Eric that we don't know the contents of. That was their evidence. They did show that, I guess.
I don't know what drug she purchased. As long as it was an illicit street drug, it absolutely matters. Because what did he die of? He died of fentanyl. There was no oxycodone in his system. There was no other drug in his system. They must prove that she purchased and gave him fentanyl. Oh, and let me talk about Becky Lloyd for 1 minute. She said that she had a conversation after a drink or two where Kouri allegedly said, things would be easier, I'd be better off if Eric was dead. But what else did you hear?
Right
you
there.
heard Becky in a recording tell the officers and investigators.
Sometimes she walks in front of the witness stand and the witness stand's empty.
I don't think I can testify to that on the stand. I'm not sure that that's true. But then she testified to it. Well, maybe they threatened to bring a catch pole for her dog too.
I wonder if the state knows who Pedro is. Because remember, right before the defense was supposed to be giving their statements or calling their witnesses or whatever, and they were like, yeah, now we rest the case. The state was like, well, it all depends on how the defense wants to go forward. Like, if the defense wants to call somebody, then we will call on somebody else. And I wonder if that was Pedro. It's stupid to bring up, but we don't know what the communications were. It's almost kind of racist to be like, this guy named Pedro, we don't know what they were talking about, but you fill in the blanks. It's like, whatever, you're supposed to think that Pedro is like a drug dealer name. If his name was Calvin McAllister, would you be bringing this up?
One thing I want to point out here, though, is if after looking at all the evidence, you believe that Ms. Richins accidentally obtained fentanyl when she thought she was getting oxycodone, and then Eric took those pills voluntarily and died, that is not intentionally and knowingly. That is not aggravated murder. And if you conclude that, you must find Kouri Richins not guilty. All right, attempted murder. What is the evidence of this? And again, it has to be intentionally or knowingly, and it has the...
I thought she was actually asking for a second, like it wasn't a rhetorical question. Like she was gonna be like, what is the evidence of this? And the judge is like, oh, you want me to tell you? No.
Rest the elements there. She had to take a
Took a
substantial
pause.
step. So here's the evidence. Kouri bought an omelet and an egg sandwich at 9 o'clock the morning of February 14th.
Mm-hmm.
There was no evidence that she left that sandwich in the truck. To the contrary, there was a conversation with her mother saying, they think I left some sandwich in a truck. That didn't happen. Eric said he wasn't feeling well. He took a nap between 11:30 and 2. He called a couple of friends and sounded upset. He joked a few days later with Kouri and friends that his wife had tried to poison him, that he'd had an allergic reaction and used an EpiPen. Alex Staking told you that, Ollie Staking. She never said that Kouri got defensive. She didn't say that. She said they were all laughing. She said that Eric didn't seem upset or scared. It was a joke.
Block that Steve idiot dude from YouTube.
That hate channel, that Steve guy. Steve's a bitch.
At Kylie Mikey super chatted $3.53. Hey, did I miss anything?
Oh, Kylie. So you missed it's on the stream I did before. I had to switch some settings around. The stream's been going pretty good. Have you guys had like a bunch of like setbacks? Has it been setting you back in the stream a lot? Let me know. Hopefully not. Hopefully I fixed some stuff. Thank you for the 5 though. The state's closing statements were pretty good. Started off slow. I think they ended pretty well. This is, I guess, better than I thought it was gonna be. It's not Ursula, but still like pretty weak. And I think disingenuous, but what can you do? Your fucking client's a murderer, right?
Won't be the first time a spouse ate something and said, "Oh my God, my wife tried to poison me." But that's it. That's their entire case.
Yeah, but did they die after?
He didn't go to the hospital. He didn't do anything that day but take a nap. Eating an egg sandwich, having an allergic reaction to something, and taking a nap. There is no world in which that is attempted murder beyond a reasonable doubt. Oh, they point out that months later in text to...
I honestly don't think there's enough for the attempted murder. It's just something to throw back to be like, she could have done it here too. The fact is, he's dead now, and I do think that like there's enough evidence to convince her of the actual murder and the fraud. Like the forgery and insurance fraud.
Chelsea, her friend, that she gets some details wrong about that day. Maybe because she didn't try to kill him, and in her memory that day really wasn't all that important. She said, "I bought him lunch." Well, it was breakfast. Again, they stood here and said, Eric was thinking this, Kouri was thinking this. She was, off with Josh thinking all these things. None of this was evidence, not any of it. None of it is proof. They talked about some IRS calls that she made on those days. No evidence as to what was in those calls. No witnesses from the IRS. Speculation, conjecture, not proof, reasonable doubt. Okay, I'm going to jump quickly. The other 3 counts I'm going to go through quickly, but I'm going to go to count 5, which is the forgery count. Now, remember what we're talking about here. This is one of those life insurance policies that any of us who belong to a credit union get, where you don't have to do anything. You sign here for $100,000 free life insurance. And this was filled out for both Kouri and Eric. Matthew Throckmorton, the handwriting expert, all he could tell you is that Eric probably did not sign the True Stage insurance policy. Probably is reasonable doubt. And he could not tell you that Kouri did sign it. They have not proven that Kouri forged Eric's signature. And there was no evidence either way if Kouri had permission to sign Eric's name on that True Stage life insurance. I mean, let's be serious. It's the rare married couple who doesn't occasionally say, "Hey, honey, I'm going to sign this for you. Is that okay?" But there was no evidence either way. She's not guilty of forgery. All right, jumping to the insurance fraud counts, count 3. Count 3
that's
is
it for the
directly connected to count 5. Because this count alleges that Kouri fraudulently obtained that insurance policy, and the fraud was forging Eric's signature. They said there was a reversed Social Security number on there, but the fraud's the signature. So if the state hasn't proven to you count 5, it automatically follows they haven't proven count 3, and you must find her guilty, not guilty on count 3. Count 4 says that alleges that Kouri fraudulently collected the True Stage insurance policy. All that means is if she did kill her husband and then represented something different to collect that insurance, that would be fraud. But if you find Kouri Richins not guilty on count 1, you have to find her not guilty on count 4. The state has not proven their case. They don't have the evidence that Kouri Richins killed her husband. So instead, they have tried to show you as much evidence as they possibly can to convince you that she's the sort of person who would.
I really do
Getting
think
close
they
to the
do.
end. I'm sure you would like me to stop talking, but I have to tell you, I'm afraid to stop talking. Because as I stand here right now, Kouri Richins is still cloaked in a presumption of innocence. I don't ever want to walk back to that table. As a defense attorney, that is one of the longest walks a lawyer can make. This entire case is going to flash before my eyes. And all I will be able to think about once I sit down is, what did I miss? What did we miss? What didn't we tell you that you wanted to hear?
You've had
Did
a
I
whole
focus
weekend.
on what you wanted to know? Did we do enough? You're about to go through those doors and into the jury room and start deliberations. Everyone in this courtroom, everyone watching around the world, we all wish we could follow you and listen in. But that room, that jury room is yours. It's sacrosanct. In that room, you get to decide. And when you get in that room and you look at the evidence, if you think that Kouri Richins might have killed her husband, that she likely killed her husband, that she probably killed her husband, you must find her not guilty. Because maybe, probably, likely, very likely, none of these reach that extraordinary burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things when you go into that room. First, you might be tempted to go around the room and take a vote for guilty or not guilty to see where you all stand. We ask that you refrain from this.
Why?
Instead, we ask, talk to each other about where you see reasonable doubt. Also, if Kathy or Alex or myself did something to offend you during this trial, please hold that against
The Secret Lives of Mormon, I think it was Wives, not even lives. It was such a letdown of a show. A bunch of nonsense, that show.
us and not against Kouri. Now, the state's going to get up and talk to you again because they get the last word. And the reason they have that last word is because of that heavy burden. But when you filled out that jury questionnaire, we asked you if you would be comfortable making your voice heard in that jury room. Would you stand by your convictions, by what you believe? And each and every one of you said yes.
What was that from? What movie was that from?
So here's my final ask of you. When you're deliberating and something comes up that we didn't respond to, will you be courageous? Courageous enough to raise your hand and talk about what our response would be. Raise your hand for Kouri, because you are the last line between an innocent woman and the state. Be courageous. Courage is what this moment demands. The courage to stand between a member of your community and the state and demand that they comply with the Constitution, that they comply with their burden. Do not let them fool you. Do not fall for red herrings. Kouri Richins did not kill Eric Richins. The state did not prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt, and you have the courage to tell them this and find Kouri Richins not guilty.
Mr. Bloodworth.
Your Honor, 15 minutes now will save me 30 minutes later.
Understood. Folks, let's you stretch your legs. All right.
What is he on up his sleeve? What's he gonna say? That is a really bad shirt. Oh, we don't need to actually sit through this part. Hold on. They're still on break.
Scott, can I get 5-109 Delta, please? Ma'am, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
Did you prepare it?
I did.
What material did you use to prepare it?
This also.
Look, we're already back. Awesome.
Please have a seat
See, it helps pause and to yap sometimes, so we can just jump ahead.
as you come in.
That's not Sky. This isn't Sky. This is Brooke Carrington, who's the forensic accountant. I don't know what Sky looks like.
Please have a seat.
Teleporting through town.
Mr. Bloodworth, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Next, guys. Parlor tricks are not legal standards. Legal standards are what matter. Let's review a couple of the important ones. You'll have them in your instructions when you go back to deliberate. Reasonable doubt. I come back to this one again and again. Evidence usually consists of testimony and exhibits presented at trial. What the lawyers say is not evidence. I've come back to this slide in rebuttal precisely because of defense's closing. There is a reason the state provided you in its slides with the cite to every single piece of evidence it argued. We told you what transcript page and line number. We told you what exhibit number.
They showed you a get out of jail free card, a picture of some juries yelling at a lady, and what was the other one? Oh yeah, all those statues of women in a held in a ball.
Because what the attorneys say doesn't matter. The evidence is what matters. And there's a reason defense counsel didn't cite you to the evidence.
Yeah, that's the only reason we're doing this. I have to get to the end of this, or else I'd just be back on Brooke. It's not like benefiting me financially, you know?
Next slide, Scott. A lot of the evidence is circumstantial. It is. People do not video themselves poisoning their spouse.
Not exactly.
But circumstantial evidence is just as good as direct evidence. You can use circumstantial evidence to conclude facts just as you can use direct evidence. The instruction gives the example of it is wet outside and people are closing up their umbrellas. That makes sense. Let me put it to you a different way. Does everybody know what happened here?
Theirs is better.
Kouri
What
Richins
happened there?
chose Carmen Lober. The state didn't. Hold on, let me check something. Go back one. Kouri Richins chose Carmen Lober, not the state.
That's Kouri Richins trying to bullshit you, and you just getting silhouetted on the wall of shit.
Go ahead, Scott. Thanks. Kouri Richins chose Carmen Lober because she was the drug dealer she knew. The state granted Carmen Lober immunity because it cares more about a murder case than a drug deal. That should surprise nobody. Kouri Richins chose Carmen Lober in part because she had control over her. She could help her out. She employed her to some measure. She could help her out. A little quid pro quo. You give me some drugs, I can help you out with your drug court. Kouri Richins chose Carmen Lober, not me.
If anyone ever gives you that proposition, probably don't take it. Hey, you know the thing you're going to court for? If you do more of that, I'll help you out with the getting off of it. Doesn't make sense, does it? Do more of the crime to get out of doing the crime? Yeah, no, just say no.
Her testimony
Say
is
no.
corroborated. If you only believe Carmen Lober's testimony that is corroborated, that is plenty of proof to convict. She was only at that Maverick in Draper 3 times. That's what the digital evidence shows. Each of the 3 times she was there, so was Robert Crozier. Those were the only 3 times he was there. Their testimony corroborates each other
Stay in school.
in the relevant manner. It corroborates that they met, that he sold her drugs, illicit street drugs, that it had fentanyl. Blues had fentanyl. Corroborates that they weren't prescription drugs. He got them from a plug, not a pharmacy. They were packaged in a little clear baggie, not a prescription bottle. All the testimony of Carmen Lober and Robert Crozier that matters corroborates each other.
So with these transactions, when Carmen
Go ahead. We've
what did she
seen this
tell
one
you?
again. Crozier was at the gas station 3 times. Carmen Lober was there every time. The March drug deal.
You still have your hookup? Yes. What the fuck? You're dealing with shit to worry? I know. Actually, I need something to get my mind. What?
Timing of this is very interesting. Shortly after Eric's death,
Kouri needed more drugs. Because I was trying to say, what was the third time? I guess Kouri just wanted to do drugs?
Carmen Lober spoke with Kouri Richins and asked, "Please tell me these pills were not for him." Of course she denied it. No. But then, a few days later, she asked for more pills. It's curious as to why. Perhaps to cover up that the pills were indeed for Eric. If I ask for more, she'll know they weren't for Eric.
I don't know if she's
It's
that
also
smart.
interesting that she said she needed something to get her mind. What? I don't know. Maybe she wanted the pills for herself. This suggests she wanted the pills for herself to calm her mind.
Yeah.
Which tells you she knows that a
I don't know.
pill that she buys from Carmen Lober is not bad. It's a whole bunch of pills that kill. Consciousness of guilt is evidence of guilt. Kouri had a guilty conscience. She couldn't talk to her father that night, not because she was overcome by grief, but because she couldn't face.
The guy talking is the state's prosecutor.
She could not face the man whose son she had just murdered. We're going to play these clips right here now. This is when...
Well, she got like 20 pills at a time. Just think about this. Wouldn't you notice if 20 pills were mixed into your drink? I feel like it would be at a weird consistency. It'd be very weird. I think I would definitely know something's up. Or like maybe she's flipping into other people. I don't know.
Is asked whether she's going to tell her children, whether she's going to talk to her children. Notice Kouri Richins' reaction in the moment. To this will be Katie Richins' reaction in the moment. Go ahead, Scott.
Where are your children now?
Asleep in that room, 2 are awake with their ear to the door. Like, oh, let me go out, please, somebody come out.
We don't know. We went to bed.
Hey, Clint's here. He's gonna help. Where are my boys?
The kid's ready.
This is where's my brother?
He's in this room.
No.
sounds like. I might sound like an asshole for this. It almost sounds like Kouri is trying to mimic Katie. You know what I mean?
Kouri,
And she's doing like a bad job.
when you could relocate your boys upstairs?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of traffic.
Yeah, I'll tell her now. What? Wait, come on. Come on.
Kouri Richins walks away.
Mom, Mom, they want all the
Katie then takes the boys upstairs.
That's
In
Katie.
moments of tragedy and profound sorrow, you not only comfort your children, they comfort
Psychopaths
you.
do that? You do. What didn't Diddy do? I don't know how much.
Kouri Richins hides her face because she doesn't know how to react because she is not grieving. She doesn't want to see other people see her non-reaction. She's not grieving because she feels no grief. She just murdered Eric. You heard Deputy Wynn testify. She wasn't crying. Deputy Wynn's body camera did catch.
I love that. We paused during the body cam. We paused at this moment too because I was like, look at her, fucking Home Alone face here.
A moment of surprise. That's the moment he informed her that he, Deputy Wynn, was sending Eric's body for an autopsy. That's her surprise.
Maybe I could be a Katie or a Scott for court. I'll make the videos like so much more entertaining. The slideshows would be like, welcome to the prosecution of this alleged murderer. Explosions and shit. And it's just like things spinning in at you. Look at these texts. To play audio calls, we would get the jury's attention, all right?
She didn't tell anybody that night that
justice is up to you, you know? Shit like that.
Eric used fentanyl.
Get him pumped.
Because she thought she would get away
dramatic
with
music.
it. She didn't think anybody would find out that Eric used fentanyl. And the minute Deputy Wynn said, we're sending his body for an autopsy, that's her reaction. The 2016 empty hydrocodone bottle is immaterial. Eric had no hydrocodone in his toxicology results.
Or THC.
The only other hydrocodone reference in the entire body of evidence before you is that investigators recovered on the first search warrant a bag, like a Ziploc type bag, full of hydrocodone pills in the laundry room and the mudroom of the house. Perhaps Kouri Richins removed them from that bottle and staged the crime scene. This is also inconsistent with the notion, having those hydrocodone bottles in the house, pills in the house is inconsistent with the notion that Eric had a secret drug habit and was going to the street for illicit pain pills.
So they were found in the house or just found in a Ziploc bag? I mean, a stupid person doesn't know how drugs work. Maybe she thought they would only find opioids or opiates, and then they would attribute it to the empty hydrocodone bottle. That's what you said, right? I didn't mishear that. Like they found the pills somewhere else in a Ziploc bag.
There's a baggie of hydrocodone in the house. Okay, there is no good reason these images were accessed the same exact minute that deputies departed the house the morning that Eric died. None. And there is, by the way, despite what defense counsel just told you, there is no evidence that Eric Richins sent these images. He sent an image of the Midway Mansion the night before that was accessed at the same time as these images. Sorry, he sent an image of the Midway Mansion the night before, but it was not the image that was accessed at the same time. The image that was accessed at the same time is the distance full view of the Midway Mansion, which makes sense in this context, not the image that Eric sent of the pile of rocks in front of the Midway Mansion.
Oh, okay, interesting. Because I was going to say, it's almost like the defense was trying to say, well, just because his one picture was sent in these messages, we don't have any of those gifts in those messages, but we can just assume that those gifts were also sent there and that it's a glitch or something, which it's not. Like, if she accessed those images as soon as they left, it's because she wanted to look at those images. So she wanted to look at the mansion. And it's not even the same image, so there you go. Good job, State. I didn't even catch that.
Details matter. We don't know who sent these images, but we do know that they were accessed on Kouri's phone at 8:29, the exact minute that deputies signed the log out of the house, and that whoever accessed them turned the phone this way to view them better. They also viewed the distant image of the Midway Mansion. Maybe she was celebrating the Midway Mansion. Maybe she was celebrating Eric's death. Either way, there is no good reason these images were accessed at 8:29.
Yeah, because like I said before, even giving her the benefit of the doubt, it shows that she has no remorse, or she's not grieving at all that her husband just died. She clearly just cares about this fucking mansion money.
Kouri Richins minimized how Eric...
Why didn't we see any gifs of her crying, of people crying or grieving? Why couldn't the defense provide those? They had the access to the same information. I think it definitely paints a picture of what was going on in her mind at the time.
Eric died because she needed to cover up her involvement in Eric's death.
I just think she didn't know how autopsies worked. That's what I think, because she seems pretty stupid, but I could be wrong.
The worst minimization was the one to his father. After speaking on March 17th with the medical examiner's office, Kouri Richins told Eric's father, knowing this was not true, that Eric Richins died in part of COVID and in part of the same lung fungus that Jean's wife Linda died of.
Which wasn't.
That is not only covering up her involvement, that is cruel. She covered up with the medical examiner. She pretended she didn't know what quetiapine was, even though she was prescribed it. She pretended she didn't know what acetaminophen was, even though it's Tylenol, and there is probably not a mother in the United States that does not know what Tylenol is. She pretended she didn't understand the word illicit. She has a master's degree.
I'll give Kouri this. I think she probably cheated to get that master's degree because she does not have a very good vocabulary and cannot spell the most basic words. But maybe at one point in time, she actually was smart and got her master's degree. She should know what illicit means, yeah.
In feigning ignorance with Dr. Christensen, she was fishing for information to craft her defense. She was asking, was it injected? Did he eat it? She wanted to know what the medical examiners knew so that she could craft around it. She was really worried about the amount of alcohol. On April the 13th, Detective Woody told Kouri Richins that Eric died of fentanyl intoxication. Right after that, she tells Josh, oh, it was just a trace. Chelsea, it was just a trace. It was his lungs that were shot to shit. She is minimizing, deflecting, covering up. She is distancing herself from her murder. Manner of death on the death certificate is immaterial. It's a box we check. It's used for statistical purposes. They turn the information over to the Bureau of Vital Statistics. It's immaterial for this case. You determine the manner of death. It's murder, aggravated murder.
Enjoy the dog.
Perhaps in a perfect world, the medical examiner would amend the death certificate, but you heard Dr. Ulmer. She signed it on June the 6th, 2022, when the investigation was really in its infancy. And she had one foot out the door.
Oh, that's racist! That's racist! That's racist! You can't say that!
At Kylie Mikey super chatted $3.53.
Oh, thank you, Kylie. Thank you for the 5. I appreciate you.
It was her best solution to finish her report before she retired. It is what it is. Bureaucrats. Eric did not ingest the THC gummy laced with fentanyl.
Nope.
When asked if she ate one that night by Deputy Wynn, it didn't seem like he did. Toxicology, there was no measurable THC in the toxicology analysis of Eric's blood or gastric.
If she gets off murder somehow, I will quit weed and I will test my blood every week to show that it'll show up in your fucking toxicology report well after you're done. Stop taking it. So I don't even think Eric was taking THC. Is my point. On the regular, at least.
The THC that they collected on the April 13th, 2022 search warrant, right? The first search warrant. It was found in the cabinet above the toilet in the master bathroom. Wasn't there the night before. You heard Deputy David Pimentel talk about how he searched it. You
Casey Anthony's lawyer was actually competent, though.
could see his search on the body cam. It wasn't there. It was put there after Eric died. That's where most of the gummies were. There was also a package in the kitchen, which was never searched the night he died. But all the gummies were sent to the lab for testing. In fact, the gummies, lots of stuff was sent to the lab for testing. None of it confirmed any fentanyl.
How come they couldn't ask that question? Do you remember they wouldn't even let them ask that question on the stand?
Brian Holden. He was the state crime lab tech that testified. Detective Haskell works the streets of Salt Lake City, drugs his whole career. Never seen fentanyl-laced marijuana. That's that's cover-up.
It just doesn't make sense. For the cost of fentanyl, the dangers that come along with it, you might get caught. Like, it's just not. It doesn't make sense to do that. Really.
That's misdirection. Kouri Richins' plan, if it was a plan, to make money on the Midway mansion is not tethered to reality. Across her portfolio, she lost money, and she lost money on nearly every individual project.
There you go.
She even admitted, it's out of my league, but the margins are so insane that I had to pick it up and then figure it out. Ha, 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 help. That's ha, ha, ha with $3.2 million of other people's money. She is intensely ambitious.
He keeps saying that because I don't think the defense can argue that at all. And it's true, she is extremely ambitious, but in the wrong ways, man.
Her plan was not tethered to reality because she could not, with more money than she could even imagine, overcome the Corps of Engineers holds on this property. Not going to happen. She asked Eric Richins for
7.35 million in debt. Sell for 14 million to be safe. Yeah, but I'm a bit low on a bunch of things. And remember how we don't have time to do this project. Damn you, Eric, living in reality.
Input on how much it would cost to rehab the house. That's the text string right there. Read the whole thing. You'll see that she sold the Midway Mansion to him, not as a project they were doing, but as just a sale that she was brokering.
That is what they said. Oh, is this a celebration? I haven't seen this.
Okay, I'm getting all free.
Cheers, boys.
Yep, come back in the corner with us. There we go.
Richard.
Richard.
Richard, yep.
Richard.
Is that her? Is that Kouri? She's such a weird looking lady. That's her?
Look, Chachi's still going. Wrong.
Oh! You're an Afghanistan warrior.
You are an Afghanistan warrior.
People grieve differently. There's no ancient artwork of that photograph.
It's kind of a cheap shot, but fuck her. Fuck them. They're taking cheap shots. All I know is that, hey, if your husband dies and you are innocent, you better not smile on camera anytime after he's died. She does look evil. Yeah. They will use it. They'll use it against you.
This book provides...
That was a cheap shot, but it was a good cheap shot.
...kind of three pieces of insight into Kouri Richins. The first is she wrote it, had it written, and published.
I guess it depends. I don't know the time frame. Was this the night after? Because I assume that this is a celebration of life and this isn't like right after the death. That a few weeks has probably passed, and that's why there's other people drinking there as well. And it, like, I've been to a celebration of life before. It gets to a point where there are people smiling and like you're like, oh, I'm so glad to see them smiling and kind of thing. I do still think she's guilty. I do think it's a cheap shot.
Published it in early 2023 when she knew that investigators were investigating her for the murder of Eric Richins.
It was literally the next day? Okay, I take it back. Never mind. That's really weird that those other people are even drinking and acting like that as well then. I thought it was like a week or like, I don't know, a couple weeks or something.
She promoted it. Her mother sent a book to investigators, all to deflect attention away from Kouri Richins.
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't know that. That's fucking crazy.
She also wrote it to make money. You see the emails, they're in evidence. She thought she would sell 100,000 copies in 10 months at $5 profit a copy. That is not tethered to reality. But it does provide insight in how desperate she was for money. That she would trade. She would trade on her sons and the death of her father to make money. The final things it tells you about Kouri Richins is that she wanted,
Yeah, I don't know.
as part of her facade, as part of her appearance of success, privilege, and affluence, she wanted to be an author. But she didn't write it. And you can see from her writings and text messages, Orange Notebook, the notes, the Walk the Dog letter, not only did she not write it, she's not a good writer. But she wanted to appear as one. The appearance was what was important to her. In defense's closing, when you strip out rhetoric that could be argued at any closing, any time, anywhere, on any case, when you strip that out of defense's closing and you hone in on substance, the entire substance of the defense's argument is based around trying to explain the Walk the Dog letter. Kouri Richins is saddled with this letter and needed to craft the defense around this letter. It's obvious that the letter was written to get her brother to testify to a narrative that would explain everything. Let's unpack the letter in about 15 or so sentences, not with what Kouri Richins wrote, but with what the evidence shows. It's a translation from what Kouri Richins wrote to what the evidence shows. First part, here's what I'm thinking, but you have to talk to Ronnie. He would potentially have to testify to this, but it's super short. What the evidence shows is this says, I'm thinking that if you tell Ronnie to testify to what I'm about to write, it will explain everything and I will not get convicted. Ronnie will need to tell this to my lawyer because I just made it up and it will have to come from him. Never mind that I was arrested 4 months ago. I need an excuse for Ronnie and Eric to be hanging out. Never mind that football season ended a month earlier. I need to explain the fentanyl, and fentanyl must be everywhere in Mexico. Never mind that Eric would have to fly with the fentanyl, and I later say that Eric would not fly with drugs for fear of getting caught.
It's a really bad letter.
Never mind that I know this story despite Ronnie never telling me. I need to explain why everyone will testify that Eric never used drugs. This kind of happened once with THC gummies on a trip to Hawaii. Hopefully this is enough to corroborate
she killed
my
her husband.
entire Walk the Dog story. I need to distance myself from fentanyl. These are my made-up words, but Ronnie can make up his own words. If Ronnie does not say these things, I'm convicted. I need to explain why investigators never found a trace of fentanyl in my home. Never mind that it doesn't make sense that Eric hid the fentanyl after asking me to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get caught passing this made-up story along to Ronnie. That would be horrible.
I like how he's translating this, because he's not reading it word for word. Obviously, he's extrapolating. He's reading between the lines. Basically, it's very obvious based off of what she's saying in those messages, and they do contradict themselves. Like the whole, "Oh, I didn't even know he was on drugs. Oh, I got the drugs for him, but I didn't know where they were." You know what I'm saying? Like, "Oh, you don't now, but you weren't able to get any of this information." Like.
Tell Ronnie to keep the story short so that he does not mess it up. Since his conversation with Eric never happened, tell him that it was only 2 minutes long. Ronnie needs to do this so that I do not get convicted. I can then extract revenge on Eric's sisters.
Yeah, so that's not what it says. It says, "Tell him I need him to do this, bring me home, and then we will get those damn bitches." But it's the same shit, man. It's the same shit. It reads the same. And this is probably why her original lawyer, quit. Was Sky a public defender too, or was Sky a lawyer she paid for?
Remember, I just made this story up, so my lawyer does not know it yet.
Have the conversation with Ronnie before he meets with Sky, and then tell him to tell Sky at the meeting about the conversation. Yeah, see, like, once you know what's going on, it makes a lot more sense the way he's saying it.
All the evidence in this case proves that Kouri Richins murdered her husband and the father of her 3 children, Eric Richins. There is no other rational explanation for the evidence. And despite all the
And like, if there is, the defense has not convinced me, at least. Like, I don't have what, the fentanyl fairy? Show me something that Eric was actually suicidal, and maybe I'll consider it. But we've seen nothing.
evidence, Kouri Richins clings to the facade that has enabled her to get away with so much for so long. And despite all the evidence, Kouri Richins doubles down and blames Eric. She is intensely ambitious. See through her facade.
Intensely
Check
ambitious.
her ambition. Do not let her get away with murder.
Or pull it. What do you mean by pull this type of stuff? I would never murder anyone.
All right. Next step. Brittany, if you would please swear in the bailiffs that will watch over the jury during deliberations.
If you'll all raise your right hand. Do you affirm that you will take charge of this jury and take them to some private and convenient place where they may deliberate upon their verdict, allowing no one to speak to them nor to do so yourself unless so ordered by the court, and to return them to the court when they have reached a verdict or when so ordered, subject to the pains and penalties of perjury? Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a few additional instructions. If you want to read along, you can fast forward to instruction number 46.
At least 3 days? What?
4-person selection and duties. Among the first thing you should do when you go to the jury room to deliberate is to appoint someone.
I'll give it an hour.
To serve as the jury foreperson. The foreperson should not dominate the jury's discussion, but rather should facilitate the discussion of the evidence and make sure that all members of the jury get the chance to speak. The foreperson's opinions should be given the same weight as those of other members of the jury. Once the jury has reached a verdict, the foreperson is responsible for filling out and signing the verdict form on behalf of the entire jury. In the jury room, you will receive a verdict form. Please read the instructions on the form carefully. The verdict form is separated into several sections, one section for each count charged. Each count.
Yeah, I was like doing some quick math in my head. Like, let's say if everyone gets a chance to speak, right? And there's 12 people. I'll give them 5 minutes each, right? That would be an hour. And then, like, let's say if everyone had a rebuttal, that's another 5 minutes, and then another 5 minutes on top of that. Like, if everyone gets 15 minutes a piece, that would be 3 hours. I don't think they need more than 15 minutes each. They'll be like, okay, unless there's one idiot in there, unless there's just one fucking idiot, then I think maybe it can be it would go forever.
Has separate instructions. When rendering
Only
your
8?
verdicts, you need to make sure
Should be even quicker then.
only one verdict for each count is marked. You may be asked additional questions.
There is 4 charges. They might argue about the different charges.
About the basis of your verdicts. Remember, any response you give on the verdict form must be unanimous. Regarding jury questions during deliberations, these instructions should contain all the information you need to decide this case based upon the evidence. However, if you have a question or need clarification during deliberations, please write a note and give it to the bailiff. I will review it with the lawyers. We will answer your question as appropriate. This brings us to one of the more difficult parts of the trial for me personally. A jury in the state of Utah is 8 jurors, and there are 12 of you. We intentionally impanel alternate jurors to ensure against the unforeseen because things happen. Jurors fall ill, they suffer a personal or family tragedy during the length of the trial. Sometimes they simply don't follow my instructions and they get exposed to information that it's not appropriate for them to have.
So it's like some wiggle room to drop 4 of them?
Because we can't see around every corner, we impanel alternate jurors to ensure that
Are they just going to drop 4 right now?
an emergency or other unexpected circumstance does not cause a mistrial. We simply can't try a multi-week trial without the help of alternate jurors, and for these reasons, the service and sacrifice of alternate jurors is just as valuable and just as deserving of respect as the remaining jurors. Moreover, the service of alternate jurors does not end when they leave the courthouse today. Rather, the alternate jurors are still subject to all of the court's instructions and restrictions. Because if an
4 people are getting voted off.
emergency arises during deliberations, one or more of the alternate jurors may be called back to join deliberations at that point. We could not
what? What happened? What just happened there? The fuck just happened?
and just as deserving of respect.
Oh my God.
We could not have expected that all of you would be so hearty and so diligent in following the court's instructions, and so we impaneled 4 alternate jurors. The alternate jurors in this case are jurors 9, 10, 11, and 12. If jurors 9 through 12 would please stand. An important instruction. This case isn't over. You're still impaneled. Please do not talk about the case. Please do not let anyone else talk about it to you. Please do not read watch, or listen to anything about this case, and do not do any research of any kind about it until I call you personally to let you know that all of these admonitions are lifted. Thank you for your
Imagine getting a personal call from this judge.
ongoing service in this case. Please rise for the alternate jurors.
Hello, Brad. Just want to let you know. It's done. You don't have to come in anymore. You can watch the trial. Did you get her? Is she guilty? Yes, Brad. We got her. That's all I wanted to know.
I can't see who's over there. Yeah, Greg, if you would let them out, I have a couple of extra instructions for the 8 remaining. Thank you.
I guess we should hear the instructions, because now they're like doing a clock? They're doing a clock thing.
Okay, please have a seat, folks. Members of the jury, as you deliberate, you may have questions. If you do, please remember, you can write a note, give it to the bailiff. I'll review it with the lawyers, and we'll answer your questions as appropriate. Please remember, though, that the bailiff cannot answer any trial questions for you. Just as you have not been allowed to research or investigate matters on your own during the trial, you may not use any outside source to research or investigate any matter as you deliberate. No online dictionaries, no online maps, nothing outside the evidence presented in this case. We will provide for you in the deliberation room the exhibits. You may take your notes with you. You may take your copy of the jury instructions with you. We'll provide a copy of the verdict form. This case is now submitted to you for deliberation and determination of your verdict. Please rise for the jury.
That's it, right?
Thank you. Ms. Nestor, Ms. Lewis, anything else on the record?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Bloodworth, Ms. Shervanek?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Let's make sure Brittany has your contact information. Regarding scheduling, my normal practice would be to check in with the jury around 4:30 and just ask them what they would like to do regarding continue working into the evening or retire for the day and come back tomorrow morning. Any objection, Mr. Bloodworth?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Lewis?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I need one member of your respective teams at least to begin confirming with Brittany after we go off the record that we have consensus regarding the exhibits that have been admitted and will be going back into the jury room. If any disagreement comes up, let me know. We can handle it on the record. Ms. Nestor, anything further at this time?
Your Honor.
Mr. Bloodworth?
No, Your Honor.
All right. The court will be in recess. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. So,
I believe the Burmester stipulation of fact that we had introduced to Your Honor.
what's this?
But not read. Question mark. Bloodworth and Ms. Shervanek. Record in 2-3.
What's going on here? Did one of the jurors have a question?
231-500-139. Mr. Bloodworth and Ms. Shervanek are in the courtroom. Ms. Lewis, Ms. Nestor, and Mr. Ramos are in the courtroom with defendant Kouri Richins. As the 8 jurors were walking out and making their way, to the jury room, juror number 2 pulled Deputy Zag aside and handed him this note, and as she was handing it to him said, "I thought we were supposed to receive a factual stipulation before we got the case," or words to that effect. And the note says, "Factual stipulation, question mark." How would you like to respond, if at all?
Yeah, it was an exhibit. When you were going to read.
865 is the
It's
exhibit.
regarding, I believe, the Burmester stipulation of fact that we had introduced to Your Honor,
But not read.
but not read.
Yeah.
May I direct them to it by number?
Yes.
I think that might be best.
Can we have a consensus about what the number is?
8-65.
Can we confirm? We'll look at it together.
Katie's grabbing it. Scott's
Yeah, that was perfect.
doing something else.
Katie, are you able to pull it up?
It would be 8-65.
If you would mind plugging in, we'll look at it together.
Oh, sure. I don't know if I have a...
Yeah, we're not gonna take your word for it, Katie. I put the. Katie one time was like, "Oh yeah, that witness is on our list," and then they were like, "I don't think she is. We don't have a witness list." And she's like, "She is," and like Ursula was like, "I don't know about that."
digital copy of that. I think it was a digital...
Scott, if you wouldn't mind plugging in, we'll look at it together.
Yes, Your Honor, I think
We did provide Your Honor with a hard copy.
And we marked it with a sticker.
Yeah, it marked it there, so that might.
For whatever that's worth.
it should be on the screen now, Your Honor.
Yeah. Let's see. It's among the things we're sending back. Yes, Brittany?
Yes.
Okay, so I will just do my usual question, factual stipulation, question mark, answer. Please see State's Exhibit 8-65. Any objection, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
No objection. I had another question. Just in the event they want to view a physical piece of evidence.
Like the gummies?
Yeah, any of it. A phone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Miss Good.
I need to see these THC gummies. Okay, they don't count how many are in the bag, right?
Gibson has custody and control of them. She knows that we may need to alert her
Okay.
if they need it. So
Got it.
if that's a question that comes up, we would just have to get to Chelsea and she can bring it over.
We'll keep you posted. Ms. Lewis, Ms. Nestor, Mr. Ramos, any objection?
No.
Okay, that's what we'll do. Now, I'm about to go off the record, but I need a lawyer from each side to stay with the Scott and Katie of your respective sides and reach consensus with Brittany about what's going into the jury room before you leave the courtroom.
All right, Kate. What memes
Yes,
you got
even
for us? What memes are we gonna give the jury?
The lawyer doesn't do any talking. I just need you to stick around. Thank you. Very good. We're off the record. Thank you.
Are we good now? I think we're good now. Jesus Christ. Let me make sure. Okay. Yeah, we are good. We're good. I don't know when there's gonna be a verdict. I'm finding Kouri Richins outed for the day, unless they come back. They said unless they have more questions. I don't think something like that's gonna happen again. The judge said he's gonna poke back in at 4:30, which will be like 6:30 my time, which is in an hour and 15 minutes. Then maybe there might be like an update or something, but I'm probably just gonna switch gears. I gotta eat something, and a smoke, and then maybe we'll do like some Brooke shit to trek through that. Get ready for her court date. I guess that's it. I guess that's all my plans. So, thanks for hanging out with me while we find out what's gonna happen to this crazy lady. And I'm just gonna keep this open, I guess, on my computer. And if I hear something happening, I'll be like, oh, so I know. But I'll see you guys on the flippity flop. Yeah, this is 420 somewhere. I think we missed 420 today. Take it easy, guys.